Hey everybody, Matthew Turner here. Anthony Fitzpatrick just coming into the building now, not quite recording yet, but I hope you're all well. And we are here to do our 7-round mock drafts, the only ones that we do on this show. I think Ant and Ryan have already done several this far into the calendar, but we are revealing our picks now. Ant still needs to quickly do his, so Ant, I've made yours white if you can hear me so that you don't spoil them accidentally because everyone can see the pick numbers at the moment. Anyway, in the chat, I hope you're all doing well. We're going to need you today because what we really need is engagement, comments, thoughts, which are going to sustain the majority of this show. So would love to hear what you think of our picks. Would love to hear who you think's having the best draft so far. Everything goes. So there were trades in these significant ones, whether you think that was good value or not. Whatever you like. So anyway, and I haven't started recording yet, but how you doing, mate?
Not too bad, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, doing good. Yeah, if you're doing your mock draft, I have made your picks whited out just so you don't reveal them. Hopefully you can see what you're typing in the box. If that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. I have no real inclination to actually start just yet. In particular, so I mean, I'm kind of here for a chill time, so.
Yeah, that's fine.
Cool. Lisa says, can you see my comments? Lisa, you said, hello, my friends. And I have not seen any other comments as yet, but I have seen that. I can see that there have been some questions to us from other people already. Ahead of time, I think. Let's have a look. Oh, YouTube doesn't want to work for me today. That's great. I mean, maybe let's address this now. So part of your Friday Q&A, Vented asked, are there any players you think the Lions may be interested in that have massive red flags? And by that, do you mean Caden Proctor? Vented. Depends what you mean by massive red flags. I would kind of say Zion Young may come into that, but I won't say they're massive red flags. I think the Lions will be interested in him if they have to go edge round 2 rather than round 1. I don't think they'll be interested in Caleb Banks. Because he's got the foot issues, hasn't he?
It's not red. That's a medical red flag.
I think red flag covers anything, though. I think red flags are like, are there reasons why you shouldn't draft this person? And I think medical comes into that.
Yeah.
Grandizer has posted a load of links and then says, Matt, I'm here. I've acknowledged you already. And Grandizer says, Matt, you can't see my comments. I posted the links. I saw it and I said hello.
And he all right, Roman Reigns. Sure. Acknowledge me.
Acknowledge me. Carlton asks, is Bain ruled out from the Lions or not? I would say definitely not. The driving thing is a complete non-issue. Like, he was driving significantly under a speed limit and did not get done for reckless driving. There's no story here, like, for me whatsoever, and I don't know about you, but I've looked at it, and I can't believe how little story there is.
Yeah. If there was something serious, it would have come out years ago before this whole process took place. So teams will have known, like, stuff like this is known about in the ethos. And if it was really big, yeah, it'd have come out a long time ago.
I mean, the incident was in June 24 and it was dismissed very quickly.
Yeah.
Grandizer said in absentia for Ash's sake, because he's not here. Anyway, we've got 5 people to reveal. We have the thinking, obviously, as Ant's doing his at the moment. I've got my thoughts, and Ash has provided his thoughts ahead of time. Ryan Farden has no rhyme or reason. He is who he is for better and worse, and we love him for that. Poole, I will speculate, obviously, on all of them, but we don't know either for that. Lisa replies about Bain saying Brad said in his press conference that it was a non-issue and they've known a long time. And Experiment says team said he hasn't been straightforward with them and he had a repeat instance last year, but no death that time. I mean, maybe. It doesn't play for Georgia. Lol. Yeah, it's sad that someone died. It doesn't appear as though it was his fault for that specific instance. Obviously, the other one, God knows. And I mean, we don't need another Henry Ruggs. So I'm always super cautious when it comes to this sort of thing. I just don't think... I don't think this is going to take him off their board. But I do think that NFL teams in general could do a better job providing their players with handlers. I wouldn't be surprised if, like, it gets to the point where NFL teams ban their players from driving altogether, just provide them with a $70,000 a year driver, like their star players. Because if you're paying someone, let's be conservative and say $5 million a year, so your upper echelon of players, you probably have 10 players on that or more in a cap hit. If you're paid $5 million a year or more, $5 million a year or more, you get a driver, and they stick by your side 100% of the time. If you want to drive anywhere, you must drive with them. If you drive by yourself, you invalidate your contract.
Yeah.
Seems harsh, maybe, to not give someone that kind of life, but, you know, the driver is instructed, no questions asked, to do whatever they say, even if it's, like, basically illegal, you do it. But then the driver's on the hook. And the player can be as stupid as they like, but they're not going to have any of these issues.
Yeah. There should be something in the players' contracts where if they get busted for shit like that, they should be able to null their contracts or something like that, just to show them how serious they are about it.
Yeah. How are you doing on players?
Nearly there. They can't see the bit above the grid, can they? Because you can see the typed in bit as you're typing it in.
No, they can't see that.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just making sure.
Yeah, it's exactly the same as our picks. You can't see that either, although I am using a separate sheet to actually reveal them so people don't know where we're going.
Okay.
As soon as you're ready, I'll then hit record on the show, because there's no point while you're making it. I'd rather have you talking about, like, because I'm not going to be able to speak as well to Ryan and Poole's picks, so I'm going to need you for that. So I don't want you thinking about your draft. Experiment says Riz says that Brown said it was a non-issue, but I don't think he actually said that. Experiment, I agree with you. I literally just listened to the presser, and he just said they'd known about it a long time, so it doesn't change the calculus, which is not the same as saying it doesn't matter. They may have already factored in the fact that Bain is not on their board, and therefore it doesn't change anything. All he said is it doesn't change anything. It doesn't mean it's a non-issue. That's not the same thing. So I agree with you. I don't agree with Ash or Riz. I think they've taken what you've said and misapplied the logic. Junie J says they want Vontae Mack. The tradition is coming, my friend.
Nearly time to watch it again.
I think I'm going to have to watch it after we do the betting show on the Wednesday.
No, I watch it twice. In fact, I'm due to. I watch it a few weeks before, and then I watch it the day before. It's a rite of passage. It always gets watched twice.
Is it bad that I watched it for the first time last year?
No, because nothing shocks me about you anymore. We've learnt to love who you are. So
for better or worse.
For better or worse, as they say.
Yeah, give me all my picks back. You've gone rogue, Sonny.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I'll have to show it to Sarah, I think.
It's just good fun TV.
Oh, this draft you're putting together is not massively dissimilar to what you did on Epic Mock. Some of them, anyway.
Yeah, well, see, the thing with mine is my players are my players.
Can't hate that. Sorry that you may not know necessarily what our original picks are, but obviously you've done a trade as well, so...
Yeah. Yeah, my guys are my guys, so my mocks very rarely change, even from the very first one. They're not that different. It's just if there's lots of guys I like, then some different ones go in.
Fair.
Can't fit
Whereas
everybody in.
here I am with two separate mocks for this one. I might give an alternative mock at the end.
I've got about three or four lined up here. This is just the one that I kind of, yeah. I didn't want to go too trade crazy, although I think Brad will.
I think Brad will
But
trade a lot.
but at the end of the day, I've learned that me and Brad do not align on our draft values whatsoever. So fuck it, I just back the guys I like, and that's that.
Right. Are you ready to go, sir?
Excuse me. Yes, I am.
All right. Let's hit record on this shit.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 403, Lords of Mock. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. 10 days away from the draft. I'm really looking forward to it. It's my favorite time of the year, and of course, all that work that's gone in the previous year of scouting guys and whatnot comes to fruition, and we get to see what goes down. So I'm excited. We're in that part now. Got my first viewing, maybe even after this show is done, of draft day, because it is that time of year. We're getting ready for it. Just deciding what chow we're going to have during the event. Now, I'm sure you, as always, will have some veritable buffet of shit organised.
Oh, I don't yet, actually. I need to think about that pretty heavily. Maybe I'll go to the butcher's for the first time in a while, get some properly nice stuff.
Mm.
It's my birthday tomorrow, and Sarah collared me earlier and said, I've been thinking about some gifts for you. And one of the things which she potentially put out there for a voucher is a voucher to do a barbecue workshop, a Texan barbecue workshop. And I am quite excited at the prospect. I haven't said yes for sure because she doesn't want to waste her money. It's like $250.
Bloody hell.
But
then you get some nice rubs and stuff like that. It just game changing.
There it is. So yeah, thinking about that very highly. Anyway, we are here to reveal our 7-round mock drafts. It's just me and Ant, but we've got 5 other guys to go through here, and Ant, as obviously our college football expert, is going to give his expert commentary on the ones that aren't me, because only I can speak to that. And then, the rest of it, I make no apologies for my picks, no matter how bad they are. But for the rest of the guys, we're going to try and go through the logic. We're going to snake it, as we normally do. But first, let's just go through some preamble. Discord channel's a place to be. You know what we do by now. Links in the live chat and on the audio pod description. College football podcast. And what did you do last time? What's coming up next?
I didn't do one last week. We are going to do one this week. It's our top 5 lists and our random name generator mock draft simulator challenge, because it's last week. So yeah, we will be doing one this week. I'll have a word with Rye tomorrow.
Don't forget to like this episode, sub to the podcast. You guys know what to do by now. And finally, we of course are doing our huge draft special show, as I'm sure you guys know that we do every single year. I think this is the 5th time we've done this now. We have been deep in discussion with our friends all over the world, trying to slot all of our guests into our live shows, which begin on Wednesday by doing a pre-draft betting show. We're then doing a day 1 build-up about 5 hours before go time. We will then be live throughout day 1. And then the next day we'll do a day 1 catch-up in the morning Eastern time. Then we'll be live for day 2. Then we'll be doing a day 2 catch-up in the mornings on Saturday Eastern time. And then we'll be live throughout day 3. And then on Sunday morning, we'll be recapping the whole damn thing. Over 24 hours of live streaming, some absolutely incredible guests, including the only, I believe, dedicated full-time college football expert in the UK, Oliver Hodgkinson, who's agreed to come on again. He's absolutely fantastic. Second only to Ant, obviously, who doesn't get paid enough for this shit. But otherwise, we've got some fantastic guests who are going to come on. We always aim to have 31 guests repping the other 31 teams to give us 20 minutes of their time to understand either what they expect from their team or what they think of their pick so far, what they think about what the team has done in free agency, what they did last season, all of that sort of stuff. And we package that up into a nice digestible format. So we hope that you can join us for as much of it as possible. For the first time this year, I am not doing any paid advertising for it. The amount of work we put into it I always try and do some paid advertising for it because I believe it justifies the amount of effort that we put into it, that we try and get it a bit more exposure. This year, I have not done that because I'm not sure it's worth the money, frankly. We never seem to get as much exposure as I'd like. So the favour I'd love to ask for some of you guys is to, if you are enjoying it or if you want to support us, just put it out to as many people as you can. It's a huge endeavour for us, especially considering, this isn't our full-time work. So we're all doing this on the side. It's a great amount of our free time. Our long-suffering partners, if we have them, lament the fact that we're not with them all the time, and that's because we're doing this. So anything you can do to help us out would be much appreciated. Right. We are going to snake this, and Ant, you are in the top left corner. So we're going to go through. If there have been some trades, and you take a subsequent pick further down, I'm going to continue snaking. So we'll talk about the trade terms in isolation, and then we'll move on to the next person without you talking about your pick. And then we're going to come back round and do them in order. So we are starting with you. And, and in great form, you have started with... In fact, we've got some news, but I've completely missed that out. We'll do the news after this, because this is what people are here for. You have gone for a trade. What do you remember what your trade terms are, sir?
Yeah, hang on, I'll put it in here. So I've traded with the Cleveland Browns. I've gone back to 24 for 24 and 70. So that's mine there.
All right. Which means we're going to come back to Amp at 24 in just a moment. I'm on the clock at 17, and I do not trade out here. I'm standing pat. I really think that if the Lions trade, it's probably going to be at 50. Just because at 17, I think there's going to be some really good players that the Lions are going to want to draft, especially if they want to go offensive line. And I think trading down is going to take them out of that reckoning. But we shall see on the day. However, this time around, I've gone with the tackle from Utah, Spencer Fano. Now, and I know that the thing that people talk about with Fano is the short arms, potentially, comparatively. That there's freakish athleticism there, which means that people think he's going to be a really good offensive lineman of some kind. A lot of people fancy him at centre. Quite a lot of people think he's going to kick inside to guard. For me, I am drafting him to be a tackle. I do not particularly care which side. I think he has left and right tackle versatility. I think he's a 5-position offensive lineman, frankly. I can't decide whether I'd like to play him at left tackle and keep Penne at right. Whatever the Lions decide, I think is going to be right here in this case. But whatever happens, I think this is terrific value. I think he's one of the best players in the draft, full stop. I know that you're a big fan of his.
Yeah, if there was one I could have over, if you gave me every single tackle in this draft, even Mawagoa, I would take Spencer Fanu. I just think that he suits us better than anything. 6'6", 308. And this was a guy who had massive hype behind him coming into college. He was Utah's highest rated tackle commit in history, which was only broken this year. And he's lived up to that billing. He got the start as a true freshman. Cal Whittingham never really does that, especially with his offensive lineman there. That's how good he was just to start off. Started on the left, moved over to the right, which is where he played in high school and where he's now played the majority of his college career. And you play him at right with the Lions, you move Penne across. But, it's been said, we kind of want to get Penne over on the left. We can run some more bootleg and everything with Goff and get him out the pocket a bit more. These athletic guys who can block at the second level, where you can do it left and right if you've got Sewell and Fanu covering your tackle positions. You've got one of the most athletic pairings going, and he is incredibly gifted with his he's very technically sound, very dominant as a run blocker. I do not understand the thought of putting him in at center at all. It's just a waste of him and his skills. I don't care about the arms. Like I say, they're not as small as they were made out to be. But he is what we need. We need very athletic tackles who are capable of getting out into space quick, getting to the second level quick, run block into a very high level, and that's what he does. That is his modus operandi, and he's a very good pass protector as well. And, if you do want to fine tune him a tiny little bit, you've got Boreham to knock around for a few games whilst you get him ready. But there's no reason that he doesn't start day one. Eddie's as durable as they come. 37 games, 35 starts. He is very durable. There's no injury concerns, nothing like that. Yeah, we should be we should be on bended knee trying to get him onto this team. I love him.
I think the thing that's so enticing about him is he's the best combination for me of the first round offensive lineman, apart from Ioane, who's not a tackle. He's the best combination of ceiling and floor. I think that he has one of the highest floors in this draft at offensive line. I just think I don't see him not working out. Wherever he ends up, whatever position it happens to be, even if you're wrong about him being a tackle, which I don't think we are, if he's a tackle, I think that he's going to be at worst, mid-level starter. I think his ceiling is top 5. I'm not going to say any better than that, because I think that's potentially foolish. And I do see some potential ceiling with the arms and what have you. I just don't think it stops him being a great player. But in terms of maybe being the best at his position in the league, maybe it makes that a bit tougher than it could be for some other people. I look at other people who I think maybe have a higher ceiling, and the person that immediately comes to mind is Monroe Freeland, who was on the board at this point. But the floor is significantly lower there. The ceiling is... the floor is significantly lower there. So by sacrificing a tiny bit of ceiling, you've got a much more surefire player. Other players that are in this sort of range, Maui Noah, I think Fano's going to be a better player than him. Maui Noah might actually be a guard. Who knows? Fano's better than Lomu, and I don't think there's anything kind of particularly close about that. There are other players who are going to be in the first round conversation. Ian Atcher seems to be rising up boards rapidly. Proctor has a very high floor, but has a high ceiling, but a very low floor. So kind of Fano is the best combination here of safe pick with that ability to be a very, very, very good one.
Yeah, I think so. It's simple. It's like with Hutch. Hutch had short arms, but Hutch is just good at his job, and Farnu's just good at his job. And the league is trending towards tackles like him. It's just a look thing. People think they know Lions players now just by their look. That's why Blake Miller's liked so much. That's why Monroe Freeling's liked so much, and Proctor. They look like Lions players, but Farnu's what you want. Him and Penne would just allow us to do so much crazy stuff when it comes to the run game. It would be fun. And Farnu's pass protecting is much better than Proctor's, etc. And that's the part of his game which he's still developing. Like he's a true junior, so he's younger as well. He's still got a lot of time to go, a lot of years to keep maturing, keep getting better. So the age works for him as well. Again, it's for me. I just see a very, very good pick, and it shouldn't. It's not difficult.
No. Got some thank yous to hand out. Danny Mac 313 subscribing on Twitch for his 30th month. Met Danny in London for a Lions game this season. Absolutely top man. And he says, "Hope you're both okay, chaps. Keep up the grind. Your time will come. Thoroughly deserve it." We're doing this for the love of the game. I'm not saying that we deserve or should get any sort of thank yous for doing this. I enjoy talking ball with friends. If we blow up, fantastic. I would love success for the team and the guys that we've put together, because I think we have a great product. But we're doing it now, and we have been doing it for the past 5 years because we love it. Many thanks as well to Mile Marker for the $30 super chat, who says, "You guys rock." Thank you, Mile Marker. And as well to Ken Stauder for the $20 super chat, who says, "Wish it could be times 1,000. Be well." I also wish it could be times 1,000, but $20 is fantastic. So thank you both. Thank you all. Much, much appreciated. Yeah. Let's move on, because I realise I've taken up a lot of airtime with my blowhard attitude. And we have Ashley Soden on the board here, and he is also trading. Now, I have some commentary about the actual trade. He has traded with Cleveland as well, Ant, but he's gone slightly further than even you have with this. He's traded 17 and 118 to get back 24, 70, and 107. So you got the 24 and 70, but you're also going up 11 picks in that early fourth round draft pick. So to get a tiny little bit more value out of it. And he
I
says,
don't even need to know who that's for. I know exactly who that's for. I've not even seen his pick, and I know who that's going to be for. So
I'm sure you do. He says about this trade, with a bunch of tackles and edges, I feel like the team will be happy taking. With a bunch of tackles and edges, I feel like the team will be happy taking any of them. There's bits that are not said here that are in brackets, so I'm going to have to fill that in, as they're in the same range of grades. And with the Browns wanting to move up to take Mackay Lemon over the Vikings, I leverage the situation by sending 17 and 118, our pick in the fourth, for 24, 17, and 107. This stops the divisional rival getting another weapon to help their offense. Instead, they take the next wide receiver off the board in Jordan Tyson, which I would argue is very bad for the Lions. And we collect a valuable third round pick and move up in the fourth to move back and let the board fall to me. I'm going to assume you're on board with this because you've made a very similar trade. So instead, I'm going to move over to... Sorry?
I was just about to say mine's the reason, because I know I didn't say the reason for mine, but I am firmly of the belief that this draft is going to include a tackle tax. I think the tackles are going to go earlier than people think, which is why I've gone back a little bit. That's from. Otherwise, I'd stay and take Farnu. But as we get closer and closer, I'm firmly of the belief there's going to be a massive tackle tax in this draft, and you're going to have to go and get one. So yeah, that's why I went back.
All right, so Ryan Farden is next up on the board, and he is going to annoy many people, but more... well, let's see what happens. Tackle Caden Proctor, Alabama. And I know you are not a particular fan, but speaking of his quality, he is an absolute man mountain who has an array, I will say, of both good and bad on his tape. And the good is very, very good, but the bad is really quite bad. Inconsistent in his technique, extremely powerful. I would say that I think he will be a reliably good run blocker in the NFL generally. I have questions personally about his pass protection and whether he can figure that out. His usage of his feet is quite sporadic, should we say? And he, really lets people kind of attack his chest and kind of rely on his athleticism to kind of deal with it. I don't know how much of a fan you are not of him. Where would you ever be comfortable taking Proctor at any point in the draft?
I mean, there'd always be somewhere. But I just, again, for me, people go, it's rare size and length. You know me, I don't do that sort of stuff. I do technique. I do, guys who are technicians. They're what I like. And for me, he's just not the best of them. I mean, people forget we ranked 31st in pass block win rate last year. 31st. And everyone's saying, well, let's get Caden Proctor because he's a good run blocker first and foremost, which is fine. But like the whole edge argument, and they're not getting guys who can rush the passer enough, and they're focusing on the run game. They're doing the same with their offensive linemen. You can't have guys who are one-dimensional when it comes to you being your offensive lineman, and they're bringing him as a run mauler first and foremost, and he's going to have issues with speed from day one off the edge, and I just don't like it. He is clunky. I know he's dropped his weight and stuff like that, but when guys get to his edge, he struggles. If they stay in front of him, he's fine, but you hit his edge, you're getting issues. Again, the technically gifted pass rushers give him problems. And he doesn't know what to do with himself sometimes. It's just a bit lumbering. And, while that massive strength and that is good when he gets it right, you're at the NFL level and you're going to get punished very heavily when you come up here, and that technique is going to be exposed. So, it's all the stuff. Oh, he's SEC, he started as a true freshman. So did Spencer Fardu. He started as a true freshman. Spencer Fardu never transferred away from his team either and then reneged on his deal. I think there's red flags there. Caden Proctor went to Iowa and then bailed and went back. Don't like that person. Why you're going to transfer and then all of a sudden you get enticed into coming back with something else back to Alabama. You're suddenly back there again. I'm wondering what your motives are. So I think there's some personal red flags as well in terms of the type of player he is when it comes to money and that. So if he's falling out the first round and he's there in second round or something, whatever, fine. But just out of the guys at the top, I'm just not sold. And
Yeah.
but what he could be amazing. He could be, but I've just got more favourite players in terms of that spot now.
Let's go with Poole's first round pick, and he is with me. Tackle Spencer Fano from Utah. We've already talked about him. I love the fact that he is with me on this one. So we're going to move on to the second.
Taken Tyneman.
I think he had already gone in his mock. I might be wrong. But our next one is we are wheeling back round to Ash's pick at 24 after his trade down. And he is going for the tackle from Clemson, Blake Miller. Now, Blake Miller, he says, surprisingly, Akeem Mesidor is the only player whom I was truly considering at 17 to be taken before I picked. I was considering Emmanuel McNeil-Warren and Dylan Tieneman as BPA picks, so I was wrong, but knew that the need for an edge of tackle was greater, and both went back-to-back at 20 and 21 to Dallas and Pittsburgh, respectively. Therefore, given how the ball fell, I was able to take the player I likely would have done at 17 in Clemson's Blake Miller. I profiled him for the podcast a few weeks ago and had a similar grade on him as I did Jack Campbell a few years ago. While the ceiling of Proctor and Iheanacho is arguably higher than Miller's, his floor is what I really want to be able to step in at right tackle day one and really solidify the offensive line that is the engine of the team. Other players I was considering here were Caden Proctor, DJ Parker, and Caleb Lomu. And are you a Blake Miller guy?
No, I mean, Blake Miller sort of falls into that category of he's not a draft love of mine, but I do like the player. I mean, he's set all sorts of records at Clemson. He's another, I think it's most consecutive starts ever in the history of Clemson by someone who's not like a kicker or a punter or a snapper. I think he's got the most offensive snaps of any player ever for Clemson. Like, this is a dude who did start day one when he got there and played every single game possible pretty much. He is Mr. Iron Man. He is, a guy who has just crushed it. Like, there was a lot of hype behind him when he came into this Clemson team. And again, Clemson, it's not often you get a lot of true freshmen starting day one on that line. It takes someone really special to do that. And you can tell all that he's about. Like, this guy is the ultimate safe floor. Like, I think his floor is, reliable rotational tackle in this league for at least 7 or 8 years. Like, he just screams to me that he'll be Mr. Consistent. Like, some teams have those guys who they can just bring in when they need them and can do it. Or they've got a serviceable guy who will just be good for his entire career without being like all pro or something like that. But I love the floor that he shows just because again he's got pretty much everything you want in terms of body shape, athleticism, his speed, you look at him, he's huge, but he moves really quickly. He gets out his stance well, speed rushes. Like a lot of people have problems with him, and he's just really dominant. And he showed a bit more athleticism than people thought. His pro day numbers were really, really good. So there's little bits of issues there. Like he throws himself around a bit too much with reckless abandon sometimes, and then that can get at him. You've got to keep your feet a bit better. But for me, he's about as safe as you can get a pick. I like out of all the tackles, he's the one with the highest floor. And I think he will do really well. I don't think he offers you the all pro-ish upside that you might want from a first round pick. But I could be wrong, but I do really like him. Again, it's just personal preference. I did have him in my initial way of doing this, but I went another way instead in the end. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think he's one of those who will go earlier than people think.
Many thanks to Muxperiment for sending a tip through Streamlabs for $50. He says, happy birthday tomorrow,
Appreciate
Matt.
everyone.
Thank you, Sarah, for sharing us with you. Enjoy some barbecue on me. Looking forward to the ROTL Draftaganza in 10 days. Very much appreciate all your perspectives and great analysis for Draft and Lions Addicts. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Muxperiment. Fantastic stuff. Right. I do not have a pick at 24, but you do. Who have you selected?
So I have gone back because I'm of the belief that tackles are going to be at a premium in this draft. I think they're going to go early. Now, I am in the thing where I think the Lions are going to trade up in the end and go get somebody. But for me, in my ideal world, I just do not think Spencer Farnoo's going to be there at 17. And I'm convinced of that at this point. And if he isn't, I don't really want to pick there. So I'm going to go back and 24. And with Larry Boreham coming, I'm not under pressure to go out and get a day one starter right away. I can do a bit more of a traitsy based pick that can pan out over time. And I thought about Blake Miller, but I had this discussion I think on the Q&A the other day. Miller's your floor, Iheanacho's your ceiling, and Max Iheanacho, the tackle from Arizona State. I am quite fond of him, and I think in terms of a guy who doesn't have to start day one, who you can let Borum do his thing, whatever, whilst you get the rough edges off Iheanacho in his game, because again, he's not been playing football that long. Um, he did basketball in high school and really late when it came to his football career. But the length, the speed at which he's learnt the game, how his game's kept developing, how he's been on a very good Arizona State team, which has defied a lot of expectations, and won a Big 12 title. Um, and for me, it's what he can do right away. Arizona State is one of the best rushing teams in college football, period. Just look at who comes out of the draft out of there year upon year upon year. You've got studs. They create NFL talent there, but that NFL talent just doesn't create itself. It's the linemen who work with it. That system he is in, they do a lot of funky stuff when it comes to running the football, and you have to be able to run block to save your life. And he does that really well. Again, his size, what he brings to the table, 6'6", 330. He's kind of just a little bit bigger than Decker. So first and foremost, he's going to give you that upside as a tremendous run blocker, but it's what he could be as a pass protector as well. He is so athletic. Again, another one of those who, when you teach him properly, like he ran a 4.9 40 at his size, which is crazy, a 1.7 10-yard split. You've seen bouts of really good pass protection from him. You see like that basketball heritage, got really quick with his feet, really quick out of his stance, can mirror really well, obviously, from the blocking schemes you use in basketball. You got to be able to stick to your men like glue, and you can see that in the way that he plays. And then he just uses that superior strength of his to drop anchor and just go nuts. And, I think with our coaching, with the situation we have, we can coach that all pro into him by the time he's ready to go into that side. And, you'll play him at right tackle, I believe. He's just got so much room for growth. 3 years of proper football. He's already looks and plays the way he does. Like, he's going to be great. Like he's the day one version of what we thought we got with Manu. It is a little bit of more of a traits based pick, but no, I think he's tremendous. He played in some good games. Texas Tech, he did well with Bailey, and he did well with Romello Height. Those two guys took quite a few shots at him, and he held up against them. So he's shown he can deal with the competition as well. It's a competitive league in the Big 12. So I've got Iheanacho just because his traits give him a higher ceiling, and I think that he will fit us like a glove. So I'd still solve my tackle problem, not immediately, but in long term, and I've got another pick out of it. But yeah, Iheanacho's the one I'm going for there at 24.
I love the pick. I think it's fantastic. I think that he could start day one, which I don't think is a popular train of thought. I think giving him some runway where he can take over from Borum mid-season is even better. But I think if there was a team that wanted to take a swing on him, I think that from what I've seen of him, there's more good than bad. And I would say more good than bad compared to someone like Proctor, which I think people think far more highly generally of Proctor than they do of Iheanacho. Like, I think that Iheanacho is going to provide you some reps where he blows away people with the odd bad rep. I can live with that. Like, sometimes that odd bad rep might kill a drive, but sometimes the significant reps he puts together where he does very, very well might provide that rushing lane that you need to, get a chunk play. And I think that if you live and die by that, well, it's better than what the Houston Texans have had historically recently. It's better than what the Cleveland Browns have been living with recently. Like, he would fit in with quite a lot of people, especially because there's so many tackle-needy teams. This is, I think, to say for a lot of people that maybe you don't want him as day one starter is a luxury in this world where offensive line is pretty bloody hard to play.
I think you just run a lot of 6 men and you use him as your 6th man and you get him experience that way. We love using Jumbo on occasion, so like he's the perfect opportunist where you can get in and really ram the Jumbo down somebody's throat and use Borum and Iheanacho at the same point. So yeah, it's what I want now. Now that we've gone with the safe option in Borum, I say safe. Now that you've gone with that sort of ceiling, you open yourself up to getting the guy who maybe doesn't start right away, but's better in the long run. They've done it with Manu, so they like guys in his vein, but obviously Iheanacho's a much better football player than Manu ever was. So, you hope you strike gold with that. And to answer your question, Lisa, I do my mock draft. I don't do it as in a rolling mock draft. I don't have a board where there's people there or not. I don't work against the simulator. This is what I would do. It's all theoretical because we don't know if any of these guys are going to be there or not. So I don't have a board for my trades. I just do them.
And I will say for my own self that I haven't actually saved the mock draft sim that I did. I've got my picks, but I don't actually remember who was on the board that I was picking between at the time.
See, some sims have like day 2 guys going at the end of day 3 still. They're not up to date or anything. It's just it's
unreliable at best.
It is. At the end of the day, it's who knows. Like you could have Jennings Dunker go at 10 or something when the draft comes. Who knows? Like it's just one of those things. Like
yeah,
there's no right or wrong thing. So I just do them as I would or what I think they are.
All right. Oh, I have just done something that I did not mean to do. Okay. We now have a trade to get to because we have a pick at 38. What's that, you say? We don't have 38. Well, we do now because Ashley Soden has traded up. He has traded up from pick 50 and he's chucked in 50, 128 and 213 to go up 12 places to go to 38. Now, just on the trade, and I will get to his commentary now, but I'll just let you, think about the value being given up there. But Ash says, trade up. I was really hoping that TJ Parker would fall into the start of the second so I could execute this move in, but alas, he became a Patriot at 31. Instead, I still moved up a bit later than I would have done for Parker to secure an edge. Sent 50, 128 and 213 to Houston for 38 outright to move up and select someone. Nothing else about the actual trade itself. For me, sending a mid-4th and a late 6th to move up 12 spots in the second seems like a lot of value to give up to move up that far. Now, maybe you get a different caliber of player at 38 than you do at 50, but for me, I don't think you do.
He's actually ripping off whoever he's traded with there.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So to go up to 38 from 50 is 120 points of value. You're not even giving up 60 with those 2 picks.
Wow.
You are like he's just ripped somebody off. If that trade is accepted, then you like snap it any day of the week.
Oh, I don't like it. It just doesn't seem like that big of a jump for giving up a 4th rounder, but maybe that's just me.
I mean, 128, so it's not like an early 4th rounder. It's like a mid 4th rounder. So, it is what it's at. But, the value, he's ripping somebody off there.
Fair enough. All right. And the edge player that he is taking at 38 is Zion Young from Missouri. And of Zion Young, he says, this, of course, hangs on his interviews as his off-field stuff could put a black mark against his name on our board, but in this reality, he's passes those checks, so we get a bookend edge opposite Hutch who is capable of playing all 3 downs. I was also considering Gabe Yakas and Jacob Rodriguez. And do you like Zion Young?
Pass. This is one I can't really comment. I've not done a lot of work on Zion Young at all. I can't really say anything good or bad there about him. All I will note is, as it's already been said in the comments, this is something I postulated the other day, maybe trying to go for 2 first-round picks and doing the trade back, then the trade up again, which I did think heavily about doing, but I do think it would be something like this would be fun to do that. I think it would be great value getting 24 and 38. So I do like the moves in general. I just don't really know enough about Zion to pass major comment on him. It would be unfair, anything I'd say.
There. Before we get into this too much, I'm also going to spoil Poole's pick because he has traded up from 50 to 46. He's thrown in 205 to do that, which seems much more my train of thought. Throwing in a late sixth, a mid sixth, mid to late sixth, along with 50 to move up 4 spots. He also selects Zion Young from Missouri. Now, for my money, I have profiled Zion Young, albeit briefly. There is something there, but I find that he lacks cornering for me. So when I watch him on tape, I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, you're a fast guy, but pretty much in a straight line. I struggle to see any dip and bend there. Okay, well, you better be good with power then. And given that he's quite athletic, I think he struggles to convert from speed to power, which means at the NFL level, I don't really know how you're going to win. Bull rush and be dominant. Have some bend. None of those things really seem to apply. He's active with his hands, and he can win that way, but he doesn't have as many counters as you'd like to have. That I think there is a lot to work with because the physical skill set is pretty enticing, but I would like my edges, especially at the top of the second, to have a calling card, something that they can win by. And when we talked about edges in a previous show, and we talked about Max Llewellyn, the king of the spin, who perhaps uses it way too much and can be a bit predictable with it at times. But at least he tries something and it works sometimes. Like with Zion Young, there's a cross chop in there. There's a push-pull, he can rip, but it's not consistent. And he's going to have to do a lot more to be worthy of this pick than where he is right now. This is definitely a traits-based pick where you're relying on the ceiling coming in. So I'm out, especially at this range.
Yeah, again, I can't really. All I will say is, been that guy. That is also a trade where you're ripping somebody off. You would, by the value, have to give up 128 to make that jump.
Even 4 spots.
Yep,
That's
40.
Ridiculous.
The value is 40.
That's ridiculous.
So draft tech are usually pretty good with it. It's not an exact science, but. Yeah, you're going to have to give up, I would say, at least 150 as a bare minimum if you want to pull that trade off. You say that, dropping back 4 spots just for a random 7th-round pick that might not even make your roster. It's not exactly, value-wise. Again, someone's pants are getting pulled down here. But, the draft value chart is just that. It's just a guide, but it is vastly different. You've got about 30 points of difference there, so someone's going to have to be very generous to let you do that.
Right, next up we have you at 50, and you are you. You have never stopped being you, and at 50 you pick what I think is maybe what I would describe as your guy in this draft. Am I wrong?
Outside of Kyle Louis, probably. This is one of my favorites here, but yeah, I am going down the safety route, and I have been watching his draft stock very closely, and because this did seem maybe a pipe dream at one time, but he is evened out around this area. So I do have AJ Halsey, the LSU safety, coming to Detroit. Yes, still need a little bit of edge help in that, but honestly, let's be realistic. We do need help. at safety as well. Branch with that Achilles, Kirby with his knee. We don't know the long-term future of them both. Plus, we want to get a little younger at the position, and we want to add something a bit more spicy into the building as well. Halsey, as you'll have seen from the video I've done, I just love how he is in coverage. He is a fantastic coverage safety who just has a history of taking the ball away from opponents. You know, nearly 3,000 snaps in college. He's done it at 3 levels. He started off with New Mexico, the Lobos, did it in the group of 5, was absolutely tremendous for them. 2 wonderful years in Houston. The second in 24 was just one of the best. He just picked off everything and everyone that was throwing stuff at him in the Big 12. And then the big move to LSU this year. And despite LSU been a god-awful team this year, he was one of the few players on that team who came out of this year with some credit. And he's just taken the jump from station to station. The level of competition has continuously gone up, and he has continuously stepped to it. 6 foot, 222 pounds. He is an absolute hawk, and I put this in the video that I do. He never takes his eyes off the quarterback when he's in coverage, and he can read plays like very few other safeties I see. When it comes to the run pass options, fake handoffs, all that sort of stuff, he never overcommits against the run. He sits, he waits, he has an unnatural ability to find the ball and then just rinse and react straight away to where the ball's going. He's such a good run defender. It's unreal, and that's obviously the Lions will like that. But when you get him in the air, when you start taking shots at him, he's very athletic. His closing speed is incredibly good. The pick that he had in the game, I highlighted with it. He's just kind of sat there in coverage, waiting for the tight end to break out, and then he sees the quarterback just load his arm up, and he just takes 3 steps, dives in from full length, you know, as far as he can go, hauls it in. Is very reminiscent of what Kirby does. He just naturally finds his way to the ball, and he will come in and he'll hit you and he will make sure you feel it and you stay down. He's the exact type of safety that we like. And for my money, he's one of the most intelligent safeties in this draft period. And we need some sort of insurance whilst Branch is out, whilst Kirby's knees recovering fully in the long term. We need a guy who can step in day one and make a big impact on this team. And there are not that many deficiencies with his game. For me, I look at him the way he plays, and you'll plug and play him day one. He's intelligent as hell. You know, I like my ball hawks like that, my safeties like that, and I absolutely love this kid. He just has a nose for the ball. He's going to be great in the NFL. I'm sorting my secondary out early for lieu of not having better edge options really around at that point. So yeah, Halsey, I've gone and got him. Yeah, he's going to be a Lion. Woo!
Yeah, great pick. High ceiling, high floor, need a safety. Tick, tick, tick. I'm next up, and this is not going to happen. And this is not predictive, but I was doing it on a simulator, and he was available, and I'm not going to not take the guy that's there, who I think is going to be an absolute stud at the next level. He really shone out in the combine drills, which is where I as not a college football watcher, really kind of first take notice of him and fell in love with him ever since. It's the edge Malachi Lawrence of UCF. He is insane, and the fact that he's only risen up draft boards late, I think, can only be chalked up to the fact that he plays for UCF. Because if he played for a team vaunted for their defensive play, and on a recent podcast I was listening to, they listed FSU here. Hi, Ash. But FSU, Miami, Alabama, he'd be a first-round player. And I'm confident he will be a first-round pick. He will be going in my first-round mock next week. But here, at 50, Malachi Lawrence is available. I definitely think this is more of a pass rush style guy rather than being a great run player at the edge. I want a fucking pass rusher. Give me the damn pass rusher. And I think Malachi Lawrence is going to wreck shit up at the next level. Apologies for the expletives, but I feel very, very strongly about this. And are you a Lawrence guy?
Like I said, at this point in the draft, it depends what your taste is, because this is usually Gabe Akers versus Malachi Lawrence territory and what you want. If you want a guy who's technical, you take Gabe Akers. If you want a guy who's athletic and explosive and wins that way, then you take Malachi Lawrence. So it's all your cup of tea, as far as I'm concerned, my cup of tea is techniques. Akers is superior technique-wise to what Lawrence is, but Lawrence possesses an athletic ability that Akers does not, and I agree. And maybe he's a fringe firster in my guy. I don't know if I'd have him in the first right away. The production's not been there through college to warrant that. It's been steady. And it's not like it's been a bad defensive line at UCF. Up until
No.
last year, he had Lee Hunter there with him. And he's got Nakeem Kelly, who's in this draft as well, the other edge who's got a lot of love in this process. So it's been a good line. It's been a bit of a gung-ho team and not a good defense overall. But, that's why he's not in first round consideration. I just don't think fully the production has been there. I think this was his first year he broke 30 pressures in a season. So you just want to see the consistency with him and use his elite traits a bit more, but just flesh his overall game out a bit. But at that point, I'd be quite happy taking him there if he was there. Like I say, it'd be between him and Yakers. I wouldn't say no to either. It just get him sort of the preference for the guy I like, for the type of player I like.
Apart from the tape, you talk about the athleticism. So just to put that into context, 157 10-yard split, 452 40-yard dash, 40-inch vert, 10'10" broad, at 6'4" and 3/8 and 253 pounds. But what really stands out is when you have a look at a player who's about 6'4", especially as an edge, you think they're going to have small arms or smaller arms. Malachi Lawrence has 33 and 5/8 inch arms. That's huge arms for a person of that size. With that size arms, he's going to be giving tackles a run for their money when it comes to arm length, especially the shorter arm tackles. So he's going to be able to out-leverage guys, especially when he learns slightly better technique. The only real concern I have is in run defense, he does miss a fair amount of tackles. Like you say, first time over 30 pressures this year. He had 24 and 28 in previous years. I just love the tape, and I love how much he just... I'll say this about him. I want to enjoy watching football, and watching Malachi Lawrence makes me happy. Sometimes it may annoy me too, but at least I'm on the edge of my seat, and I value that. All right. Ryan Farden is the last one to make his second round pick, and he selects the cornerback from Tennessee, Colton Hood. And I must admit, and I haven't gotten there with Colton Hood. Do you have any wisdom here?
I've not done any work on the Tennessee corners at all. Apart from saying McCoy's a massive walking red flag. But I've not really been considering corner this high in the draft. So none of the high end corner prospects really have I done much work on. So I'll have to leave it at that.
So this is Hood's first year as a starter after transferring twice in the last 2 years. He played 11 defensive snaps at Auburn in 2023, 291 at Colorado in 2024, before having 774 in this most recent season. So really did a heck of a lot more this season and had a great season. Really, really good tackler. Missed tackle rate of only 6.6% on 774 snaps as a corner. That's bloody good. But otherwise, solid in run defense whilst unremarkable. Kind of filling in there. But in terms of coverage, he only allowed 54% receiving rate. He had a pick 6 this year, 5 passes defended. As an outside corner, he's 6', 195, and he's just turned 21. So young, not much mileage on the clock, good tackler, could get better in run defense. I can't tell much about the coverage other than the reception rate is low against him. The passer rating against is 70.8, which is pretty bloody solid. Almost no reps in the box, almost no reps in the slot. Like, this is a true outside corner guy. I have nothing more than that, so I'm going to move on. And I'm going to move on to Ash again, because he has a pick at 70 due to his trade down with Cleveland. So Poole did not and Ryan did not, but Ash does, and Ash selects 70. You already know who it is, Ant. Tell me.
Kyle Louis.
Of course it is. You both have been on the same train here. I'll say maybe he followed you, but you've both been on the same train here. And he says about Kyle Louis, blame Ant for this one. So yeah, he's just a copycat, really. He set me onto this guy, and I fell in love. He helped. He comes from the college of my former draft crush, Kalijah Cansey, in the ACC. Sorry. Louis is a do-it-all linebacker who is capable of being a big slot in coverage, a good run defender, and a great blitzer. He will allow Shep to continue to use 3 linebacker sets by replacing Anzalone's third down ability, while also being a chess piece that is movable to exploit matchups a la Branch. Gimme. Other players I was considering here were Derek Moore and Dominique Orange. You also have a pick of 70. You have not gone in this direction. I wonder whether he potentially might have been on the board for you or whether you think he's going a bit higher. And Ash blames you for this pick, so I turn it over to you to talk about the guy who you said, over AJ Halsey, was maybe your guy in this draft.
Yeah, it has been for a very, very, very long time. The only reason he's not in my draft is I believe he's going much higher. I could be wrong. I quite often oversell my guys. I don't. I have a right grade on him. It's just everyone else has a wrong grade on him. Kyle is special. Kyle, and I keep talking about this again and again. The league is evolving in a way where these star hybrid linebackers are the future for you. What they can do, the versatility they bring. And I know I don't like positionless players, but the thing I'll always say with Kyle is he has been trained to be this player. It's not like he's going to get switched because of his traits at the next level. He's been a star since he started at Pittsburgh. And for me, he solves 3 needs in one for the Lions. This is what's so good about him. Because stars can play as safeties, he has the build of a safety. He has the coverage ability of a safety. He can go deep and, do the jobs like guys like Halsey and that can do. You bring him in as your middle linebacker. He's got like over 200 tackles in the last 2 years. Like, he is not averse to just again and again and again getting his scrum down in the middle. He's not too light. He's not too frail to go in, take those 15 tackles a game type thing. But then most importantly, it's the blitz pressure that he brings for you and what he offers, because the Lions, and I keep saying this again and again and again and again, we don't make enough plays in the backfield. Over the last 2 years, he's got 50 quarterback pressures, 10 sacks, and 24 tackles for loss. He knows how to get in the backfield. He comes from Blitzburg. I love the guys who come out of Pittsburgh as well. Cansey, Savachier, Dennis, like the list is endless. These guys have an innate ability to get into the backfield and make plays happen. And with the kind of guys we have a lot of more big run stuffers, space eaters up front for us and we're crying out for someone who can hit that A gap a little bit more, has got the athletic ability to get round the edge as well and make those plays in the backfield. So you are helping your pass rush. You are solving your coverage linebacker problem, because for my money, he's the best coverage linebacker in this draft. And you're also providing excess depth for yourself at safety if you want to play him there, depending on the packages. And also while Branch is out injured as well, you can bring him in that role. So he doesn't have to leave the field. You can keep rotating him around and doing what he needs to, and don't worry about the positionless stuff, because he is trained to do this. That is the role he did at Pittsburgh. It's the role he can do here. I see it as the future, one of these positions that's going to be valued so highly. I was right about Diane Henley a couple of years ago, although he didn't really do safety stuff. But Henley's ability in that, he's become so pivotal to that Chargers defense because of what he does, and Kyle Louis is going to do something similar. So if I could fit him in, I would have done. Well done on Ash for doing it. But yeah, he's my favorite player without a shadow of a doubt. If he ends up in Detroit, I'll be happy. But I know damn well he's going to end up at Pittsburgh, or he's going to end up at Baltimore or something like that, and they're going to break my heart.
Moving on to your pick at 70. So, Ash, went 24 and 70 and actually managed to get a pick in between. So he's managed to get Miller, Young, and Louis. You've gone Ian Atchor, Poole, and who?
So I have gone for the defensive line here, but I've not gone edge yet. So I have taken another one of the guys I've liked for quite some time now. I've gone defensive tackle. I've not been scared in saying that I want a guy who can rush the passer on the interior because we just have so few guys who are able to do it properly. I have taken Grayson Holton, the defensive tackle from Oklahoma. This is the only one I'm a little bit iffy about whether he's going to be there or not, but consensus boards seem to have him down in this area, so I'm going to take him while he can. But Grayson Holton is a fantastic football player, 6'2", 292. He is one of these, it's kind of like Kansi in a way, a little undersized, what you would traditionally want for the position, but you watch this guy play and he has just something that the Lions completely lack, and that is someone who can destroy an interior pocket as a pass rushing presence. These last 2 years, he's got 60 quarterback pressures, 9 sacks, there's 3 forced fumbles, some better passes at the line of scrimmage as well. Tackle rate is pretty good, and for someone his size, the run defense is really good as well. That Oklahoma line has been really underappreciated this last year. It was one of, after Indiana, probably the best defensive line in football. Grayson Holton and David Stone especially have been absolutely tremendous. And who is the other one? There's 3 of them. Demonic Williams. But they'd been a Highlander at Penn. You couldn't run on this team. Your quarterback was always in danger against it. Single-handedly took them to victory over Alabama, destroyed that offensive line, which included Caden Proctor, but he is explosive. He is twitchy. He's got a great first step. He's got an arsenal of pass rush moves. He will hit you where it hurts, and he's one of these technicians that we are absolutely crying out for to bring us some more interior pressure. You got Tyleik Williams, who's going to be your interior run stuffer of the future. You've got Aleem who can do his work in there as well, but we just need a little stick of dynamite that we can put in that defensive tackle room and just set it off and start collapsing some pockets. Give him the opportunity because you got Hutch on the edge as well. You're gonna have to one-on-one him a lot of the time. He will be able to get your pressure there, and we need a pass rushing defensive tackle. It is a huge need for this team. He's there at 70. I'm just going to solve this issue right now. Grayson Holton, Tyleik Williams, and Aleem McNeil is a fantastic defensive tackle core for us to build around for years to come. So that's why I've got my extra third there to get that aspect sorted. I know I still haven't gone edge, but this is still a big issue of need for the Lions. So yeah, Grayson Holton goes at 70 for me.
I must say, it's not someone I've paid a huge amount of attention to, so I defer to you, sir. And I must announce a trade, because we do not have another pick yet, but I am trading up this time. I saw a player fall, and I thought, I have to have you. So, I am trading 118, 157, and a 7th round pick in 2027 for 85. So going up 33 picks, which I'm sure you'll tell me I'm massively underpaid playing the sim, to go up to 85 to pick the best defensive player in football last season, apparently. This is a man, and this is going to become a recurrent theme for me as we go through this draft, I believe, because I seem to go back to the well of players from a particular team. This is a multiple award winner this year because he was truly exceptional. That is the linebacker from Texas Tech, Jacob Rodriguez. Now, much like Kyle Louis, Rodriguez has early round 2 hype. So the fact that he fell to 85 is shocking to me. Having said that, we all know that linebackers and safeties have a habit of falling in this draft. So no matter how much people actually end up liking people, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go high. Now, Jacob Rodriguez is, everything you want in terms of athleticism. 9.61 RAS, 159 10-yard split, 457 40-yard dash, 6'9" 3-cone, 419 shuttle, 38.5 vert, 10'1" broad. He is undersized slightly at 6'1" and 3/8 and 231 pounds, but I think 231 pounds in the modern NFL is perfectly fine to handle at linebacker. Now, he won the Chuck Bednarik Award in 2025 for the nation's top defensive player. His PFF grade this most recent season, 93.3, with a run defense grade of 95.3 and a coverage grade of 92.7. Not particularly great in terms of pressure, only 4 pressures this year and 1 sack. But last year, as a starter at Texas Tech, he had 21 pressures and 6 sacks and a much higher pressure rate. And I think it speaks to the fact that Texas Tech used him differently this season. And he was much more of a coverage-based player as opposed to that sort of blitzer to go and get the quarterback. But he's shown the chops to do both. Great ball production, 13 forced fumbles, great peanut punch technique, active hands. He's, obviously super athletic. He had a 69-yard scoop and score, 2-time captain. His agility sometimes when a runner changes direction could be slightly better. Sometimes he is over-aggressive and bites on play action more than you would like. And he doesn't play a huge amount of special teams. He's my linebacker starter. I don't care if he plays special teams. I think he's a terrific run defender. So when you're talking about the pickiest of nitpicky bits, I don't give a shit. This is someone who's a playmaker on the field, who is going to turn the ball over for you, is going to be that man where the other team are going to go, not him again. And I don't anticipate he'll be here at 85, but we can't predict the future. What do you think about Jacob Rodriguez?
Yeah, I think the odds of him being there are less than 0. But Jacob Rodriguez is a very easy evaluation, which people just make too complicated. Like, he's just had maybe the greatest college season ever from a linebacker. I mean, not only did he win the Butkus, he won both defensive awards, the Chuck Bednarik, the Bronco Nagurski. He was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. He was an All-American. He just did everything you needed from him. There's a lot of pressure. Yes, that Texas Tech team is made up of a lot of money, but at the same point, there's a lot of pressure for them to deliver, and they were an absolutely dominant defense this year. I don't really care about the lack of pass rush from him this year. I mean, why need him as a pass rusher? Your defensive line is David Bailey, who's going to be a top 5 pick. It's Romello Height, who's going to probably be a 2nd-round pick. It's Lee Hunter, who's probably going to be a 2nd-round pick. And just to knock it off, you've got AJ Holmes, who's probably going to be a top 5 overall pick next year. Like, it's insane. They bought one of the best defensive lines money could buy. They didn't need their linebackers to go out and do anything crazy last year. It's just maintain your gap, maintain the middle of that field, and he did so in the best way possible. And I don't care about the size or anything. You look at him play, and the Big 12 is a tough league for linebackers. The amount of tremendous running backs that you get there, the run defense work you have to do, some of the passing offenses are crazy as well. Like, it's a tough place to be, and he's just made it look easy. He's just a great football player who, at worst, is going to be a solid contributor for 10 years, providing injuries get out his way, at worst. And he can be so much more than that. Like, whichever team he goes to, guarantee you he's a leader on that team within 2 years. That's where he's going to be at. So it's very easy eval here. Don't knock it. Just draft him, and if it's here, then great. I'd absolutely love that. I think he's underappreciated, not respected, despite playing out his mind. Kind of exactly fits the ethos of what we're about here. So I certainly wouldn't say no if he was there at this point, which would be crazily crazy.
Crazily crazy.
Crazily.
All right. Man United lose. Music to my ears. The next one we have is another trade. We have another trade up by Poole. And Poole is moving from up to 94, and he is giving 118, 157, and a 2027.5 for 94. So that is very similar to my trade, apart from he's giving a 27.5 instead of a 27.7, and he's only going up to 94 while I went up to 85. That tells you how realistic my trade was. Anyway, Poole is going to... Sorry?
Sorry, it's all right. Go on. I'm going to start blacking these out to make it easier for people to see.
That's a good idea, thank you.
I'll not black it out, but I'll colour it out.
So I'm going to have to go to you on this because we don't have our resident expert available here on this team, even though he hid away from this team this year because he's a coward. Love you, Ash.
If this is Daryl Jackson, I have no idea about him.
This is Daryl Jackson.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you a thing.
Defensive tackle, Daryl Jackson Jr. from FSU. Apologies for not giving you anything on him. That's not ideal. Regardless, we now swing back around, and
Do
we are
something where the colours are not too bad. I want the colours to...
Black's good. Black's good.
You sure?
Yeah. The next person we have on the board is somehow Ash again. Although I don't see how he actually went there. How did you get 107? Oh, there you go. You did it in the first trade. Okay, fine. So Ash in the first trade went up from 118 to 107 along with his 17 for 24 trade. So at 107, he picks the best proctor in the draft. Not the wide receiver that we talked about last time, Ant. This time we're going to Southeast Louisiana and we're going defensive tackle Caleb Proctor. What do you think about him?
Again, I couldn't really tell you a great deal, to be fair. I've not done much work on Caleb Proctor at all.
That's all right. I have Ash's commentary on this one instead then. He says, the best proctor in the draft, in my opinion. A penetrating / undersized 3-tech 4 INR scheme who can at least bump Wingo off the roster this season with the potential to replace Levi and be the long-term backup to Aleem McNeil while offering some big end snaps as well. Dude is a baller, and I'm not unhappy at all grabbing a guy like this on day 3. The other players I was considering here was Zachy Wheatley, and Bud Clark, who I would be a very, very big fan of if he'd done that. But there we go. So that's Caleb Proctor. We have no other picks at 107, which means we're back down to our natural pick at 118.
So that's Ryan's first, if we're
Ryan's
sneaking.
first. And Ryan is going for a player I just mentioned that Ash was considering at 107. This is the safety from Penn State, Zachy Wheatley. Again, not one of mine. And
No, I couldn't tell you much either.
well, this is good. Great.
Sorry for this riveting thing, but there are like 500 players in this draft. There are a lot of prospects. I can't get round to them all.
Well, in that case, we are back with you, sir, and our natural pick at 118. You haven't addressed pass rush up till now, but now you have.
Yes, I have. So this is why I was a little bit more comfortable waiting for my pass rusher, because I think there's someone who's getting incredibly undervalued in this draft, and I'm going to take the value where I can get it, and everybody's instantly going to know who knows me who this is. But I'm taking a Hoosier this year. There's a Hoosier going in any one of my mock drafts. Mikhail Kamara, the edge out of Indiana. A kid who I've watched now for over 3 years since he was back. One of Kurt Signetti's many transferees from James Madison when he came over to the Hoosiers. He had a fantastic 23 with the Dukes, just made that team, came across, and he has absolutely destroyed the Big Ten over the last 2 years. 130 quarterback pressures for him, 12 sacks, 26 QB hits, nearly 90 hurries, 2 batted passes, 5 forced fumbles. The dude is an absolute game wrecker. Now 6'1", 262. So yes, Anthony is again on the undersized edge train this year. It's the same with Donovan Aziruaku last year. I don't care about size. What I care about is your technique and what you can get done. And he's one of the most natural pass rushers you'll find, even from his James Maddison days. There's just a whole arsenal of moves he has at his disposal. He's got a really nasty cross chop that he loves to use to get defenders' hands down and spin on their inside. He'll hit you round the edge. He's athletic enough to do that. The bend is really good as well. Kind of one of those underrated aspects of him, but he just naturally knows how to find his way to the quarterback, and he naturally knows how to put pressure on him. For the first, 2, 3 years of his college career, he was primarily a pass rusher. And it was the run defense which kind of kept him in college. I agreed with his decision to go back. There was a game in 24 where Ohio State kind of really nullified him when it came against the run. You saw the size issues with him. He chose to go back this year. They rejigged his role on defense just a little bit. He wasn't necessarily to do the pass rushing so much as he did this year, but still got 60 quarterback pressures in the end. But they put him in there to help with his run game as well. And the run defense was so much better this year. The hand placement, the use of his leverage, despite him being a little smaller, against all teams he came up against, Ohio State, Alabama, it was so much better. The technique was there. He was fleshing out his game. And you're not going to find guys often in round 4 who are natural pass rushers who, for me, hold more upside than they are ever given credit for as a run defender as well. And another who's had to prove a lot of people wrong. He's been on one of the fairy tale stories in college football, what he's done for his teammates as well, the opportunities he's opened up. See how the team around him has eaten this year. Stephen Daly had his best year ever. The 2 D tackles were fantastic, Landino and Tucker, because he was taking up so much pressure. Elijah Hardy, the outside linebacker, they used to play him up with one another. He took real advantage of it this year because teams were focusing on their main guy and he was delivering. That's what he's going to do for you. I just love him, and I want guys who can get into the backfield and create tackles for loss, just like Grayson Holton. Mikhail Camara is that. I don't care. He's 6'1". I think he's going to have a very good career in the NFL. Opposite someone like Hutch, where the attention's going with him, you can let him loose and you can, let him go and do what he's good at. But he is sneakily very good as a run defender as well. You're not going to find, you're not even going to come close to finding value like this at this pick. He's a day 2 pick. He should be a day 2 pick, and he's here. So Mikhail Camara solves my edge issue. I'll put him in the rotation right away and let him go to work. Again, another kid that I really enjoy.
Yeah, he's going to make someone very, very happy, I think. He is someone that I've sneakily liked too. I've had good success kind of picking out mid-round edge players, maybe not in this sort of ilk, but just that have kind of done quite well. I think my main kind of hit is Yaya Diaby, which is not a very similar player, but is edge 1 at Tampa Bay right now, which is a pretty scary thought. So if you don't have Tampa taking an edge at some point, change your feelings. Camera makes me very, very happy to watch. Again, like I said about Malachi Lawrence, Camera makes you happy to watch football. Just has that innate quality in him to make you stand up while you're watching and kind of go, come on! Like, he's exciting. That is worth so much to me. But in terms of what he can put on tape, the punt block just speaks to me. I know that who cares about special teams really, but it was him, wasn't it, that had the... Oh no, it was kick block, not punt block, kick block.
Yeah, he's got blocks. He's got plenty of special teams plays. He's got multiple block kicks, so he'll bust his ass on special teams as well. Just people see 6'1" and go nah, and it's just like don't be that person.
Yeah,
he's you've got to look and see the impact he's had on that team. Like, that defensive line has been so good, and because he has been the figurehead of it, and he's sacrificed some of his own personal goals this year for the team. It's just like a complete green flag in terms of a team player and what he is. So yeah.
I'm here for it.
It's crazy that he's a day 3 guy. It's absolutely crazy. Shouldn't be here. Shouldn't even be close to here.
No, but he will be because he's small. Anyway,
It will be because I overvalue all the guys I like, but
But
I'm usually right.
You are, and I like him too. And between the two of us, hopefully we're not going to get this wrong. What you've done with your next pick, on another natural pick that you're sticking with at 128, is you've returned to the well of the team that you now support. I think it's fair to call you an NC State supporter rather than just a loose fan who doesn't really have any rooting interest. I think you're firmly an NC State guy now.
Yeah.
And we have a particular need that's probably slightly underrated, and you've addressed that with someone who is going to be a fan favourite pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, another guy who has no business been at this part of the draft, but the Sims still have him there, and quite a few actual mocks do as well. So I've gone for my tight end room this time. I have gone for Justin Joly, and you've spoken many times now about players who just make you happy when you watch them play. Justin Joly makes me very happy when I watch him play, and this is not just NC. This goes back to his Yukon days. Like, it's a double boost for him. He's played at two of my favorite teams, period. But ever since he hit the field as a Husky in 22, it's just been very clear to see his talent level is it's the ceiling is crazy with him, specifically as a receiver. I would, obviously, I do want more of a blocking presence on this team as well. I think he's a very good blocker, given he's 6'3", 263, so he's not kind of bringing that 6'6" frame that might be a dominant run blocker type in. But for me, when you're at UConn, you've got to run block really well because that's what they like to do. And at NC State, we love to run the rock as well. We have a dual threat quarterback, so you've got to be able to block for him. We have multiple 1,000-yard rushes in a row. Unfortunately, Hollywood's gone to Texas now, but people just assume he's a receiver because he's got like 2,000 yards and 15 touchdowns in his time at college. And yes, he's damn good receiver. He moves like a receiver, kind of moves like a slot guy, just this really nifty, quick guy who will hit you between the numbers. He's again very gifted athletically. He can just hit you with a simple go route down the middle, and his hands are so good. Not really much of a drop issue with him. Just one drop this year on over 70 targets, which is really, really good for a tight end. But it's not just all the simple handoff type stuff, the security blanket stuff. He will hit you at all three levels of the field. And for me, having Laporta with his injuries and bits, he gives us a genuine second receiving option, which I think Petson's going to love because Petson's going to use a lot of two tight ends this year. And we need someone who's a better receiver than Brock Wright and who has more of an upside as a run blocker than Brock Wright. And Justin Joly is that. He'll be my tight end two on this roster very quickly. Again, he's had to play on teams that love to run the football. It's not something that he is not averse to. I think the run blocking is better than he's given credit for, but his receiving ability really makes him stand out. Really so. Again, another I've watched over 3 years now, and he makes me really happy when I see him play. He'll be a volume receiver in the NFL as a tight end. They'll love him. And yeah, I think he's a perfect fit for us at this point, despite maybe being, again, a little on the undersized. But I just think we can do so much with him in our offense. Even play him at wide out a little bit if you want to as well. He's that good. So yeah, I've gone with Justin Joly at this point. It's just insane value again for me. And again, another guy who shouldn't be here. And tight end is a need for us. So yeah, Joly is my guy there.
I have gone along with similar thinking. I've gone with the same position, but I am taking a swing for the fences. Now, this guy may not be here at this point. This guy may still be here in 100 picks after this one. I have no idea where this player is going, and neither does anyone else. And that is because he has had some injury concerns. It's also because he's a receiving tight end with basically no receiving yards. So, what are we doing here? Well,
how's this Burkircher?
This is tight end from Georgia, Oscar Delp.
No.
Now, Oscar Delp is your prototypical move tight end, 9.83 RAS, 6'4.5", 245 pounds, strong with 23 reps on the bench, 1.61 10-yard split, 4.49 in the 40-yard dash. Both of those marks pretty close to, if not faster than the edge defenders we've been highlighting today. So, super fast. 38 on the vert, 10'5" on the broad. So super explosive, super fast, strong. He has had some injury concerns which have now been cleared. It is a foot injury, which for a tight end is not ideal. However, given that he's not exactly a blocking tight end, I don't give a shit. It is a swing for the fences in the middle of the 4th round, so I think I'm okay on that one. The problem really with Oscar Delp, and it's not a small one, is that he is a receiving tight end, clearly, because you're not going to leave him into block, as I highlighted. However, I don't think he's passed 300 yards receiving in his career at any one year. His career total in yards is 854 on 70 catches. And for a receiving tight end, he's pretty bad when it comes to contested catches, which is not great. However, I am deciding to believe in the ceiling here. I want to take a swing for the fences. I'm looking at Sam Laporta and I'm saying, if you're going to be potentially injured, potentially long term, which it could be with Sam, or it could be that we move on from Sam entirely, that this is someone where if the ceiling hits, you're replacing Sam. And I think Sam Laporta, when it comes to trade deadline, when he's got past the injury, will be a candidate on the block. I just refuse to believe that the Lions are going to pay every single player from that class. Now, I sit here in my Sam Laporta jersey, and I'm going to be gutted if he goes. So do not think I'm saying any of this lightly. But in Delp, what you're trusting in, and given that Georgia had terrible receivers and he didn't get much play, this may be a vain hope. I think what I've seen on tape from him is someone who can separate, who need to separate, and he needs to improve. He needs good tight end coaching. Well, who do we have at head coach? I think that he is someone who can look at Dan Campbell, find himself a proper mentor who can put his arm around him, teach him some more fundamentals, because I think he needs to go back. But this is one of those where he's risen up boards dramatically after he's got rid of his injury concerns. The tape doesn't really match that, Ant, which is probably one of the reasons why you said, oh no, because I think a lot of college football watchers are not as high on him as some of the draftniks are. I'm just kind of hoping and praying at this point. This is my please be right, and if you end up going and disappearing in a couple of years' time, I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, it's an entirely a projection, and that's the trouble. He's entirely a projection. He's never been a volume receiver. Hell, never even really a semi-volume kind of receiver, and he doesn't really block either. Which, given his size, because talking about Jolie a minute ago, been 6'3", but this guy's 6'5", 245. He's got the frame to be a better blocker, and he's not a better blocker.
Mm-hmm.
I know, but that's precisely what he's done in his career. They're now scheme-wise, Georgia's tight ends have done nothing since Brock Bowers left 2 years ago. There's been nothing. You've had guys like Benjamin Urasek go there who've not succeeded. It's not exactly been a scheme that's been friendly to its tight ends and that uses them very much. It's predominantly gone to a receiving core that's getting better, but they've not been using them whatsoever. So whether it's a scheme thing, kind of like Tesla with Arkansas, which just saw him not get many reps whatsoever, but I don't know. When he's been there 4 years, he's not made his way up the depth chart. He's not earned the trust of his quarterback. The production's not there. There's always been somebody else. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride type thing. Against someone with proven production who's given a lot, I'm just not going to take someone who is he's pure projection on what he'll be at the next level. He could be great, but there's far too much to work on. And for me, you've got to have plenty of production in college. If you've not as a kid, then your level of opposition goes up high and there's no easy learning curve in the NFL.
All right, moving on. We have Ash has traded away 128, so we're not doing that. Ryan Farden has his natural pick here and takes the edge player from USC, Anthony Lucas. Do you know much about Anthony Lucas?
Not a thing.
Excellent. Well, we'll move on then to Poole, who I think is now taking someone that you took in the Epic Mock recently. If you didn't see the Epic Mock, go search for Epic Mock. You'll see Ant repping for Lions and Roar the Lions. Poole is taking the cornerback from Stephen F. Austin, Chuck D. Charles Demings. What do you think about Demings?
There's a lot to like about Charles Demings. I mean, another one of those who you kind of look. So you're looking for a boundary corner, especially for the Lions. We want another boundary corner. We want someone to develop who potentially is going to be that next big thing for us. Now, he's not like other guys I like here, like Takario Davis, Ephesians Price, who are like 6'4". He's 6'1", 193. But in terms of, a coverage boundary corner, you will not find someone who's better. And he's been really productive as well in his last couple of years, like 4 interceptions, double digits when it comes to his pass breakups. He's really good as a run blocker. He's got I think it's 10 interceptions in his career. He's just another one of those who he likes to keep his eyes on the football and not his back to the ball. And I like corners who are like that. Trying to locate. He's got really good movement skills. The hips, he sinks in and out of his routes really well. He mirrors his receivers really well. Now we have to put in to say it's the Southland. The level of competition is not the highest in the world, so you've got to take it with a pinch of salt. But as an athlete, there's absolutely no denying he's got what it takes there. He uses his length very well. Again, you can see him, jumping routes, breaking up passes, just got that really good anticipation. And when it comes to contested catches, he'll just battle anybody. There's no receiver too big for him. He'll just go up and give as good as he gets, and he does it without really getting heavily penalized as well, which is good. You don't want someone who is flag happy. You can get a little grabby at times, but you get away with it in college. But I think overall, technical wise, there's not really much to worry about. It's just the level of competition that he's going to come up against. But with us, we have no need to put him in right away. He's not going to, you're going to have him as your depth boundary corner here. I think he's in a perfect place to sit and learn. And yeah, he gives us a little bit more height for the position. He gives us a lot more physicality for it as well. And he's highly experienced, over 2,000 snaps. He knows what he's doing. So yeah, if you're looking for day 3 corners, it is a treasure trove this year, and I think he's good value here.
Right, here's one which I think is about 60 picks under consensus. So he's fallen potentially a long way, but on some draft boards, he is still available even into the 200s. We actually had a draft emailed in from Ken Stauder, who's listening at the moment, who's taken this player at 205. Now, Ryan has taken him at 157, but I think that on the consensus board, he is far, far higher than that. This person goes 123 on the consensus board. This is the defensive tackle from Cincinnati, the godfather himself, Dante Corleone. And have you any thoughts on Corleone?
I think his projections have been all over the place because of the medicals. There's been a lot of medical concern about him, but as far as I'm aware, he's been cleared at rechecks. So that'll do wonders for him. But people take the Godfather. He's a run stuffing defensive tackle. That is his modus operandi. Obviously, he's nose tackle, so the Lions do theoretically need a nose tackle. I mean, I would be using Tyleek as that, but we need a replacement for Roy Lopez. This will be the guy you bring in for that. The pass rush upside, nah, not really there. His better years were his younger years in college. For me, he's kind of just stagnated in his collegiate career. Like, he's not gotten better as he's got older. Like, he was fantastic 2 years ago. Like, we were talking about an absolute potential superstar, and it just kind of never materialized for him. And if anything, the pass rushing's got a lot worse. I don't know whether they've changed him in scheme or whatnot there. I think he's just played a lot more at the nose this year, and they've asked him to stop the run. He is a very good run defender. Again, he's undersized, 6'1", 335, so a little on the small side, but he's a literal bowling ball. Like he's built like one. You can't shift him. Like it's very difficult to dislodge him. He's great against double teams. Provides you with a great stable presence there against the run, and it just depends on who you value. And for teams looking for a nose tackle who have run defense issues, he's going to carry so much more value. For the Lions, again, I'm not ready to have another clunker in this team who is just going to stuff up the middle. I need someone who's got more upside as a pass rusher and can do some more damage against that, and that's not him for me. But yeah, if you get him, then yeah, you're getting one hell of a run defender. But it is concerning that he's regressed as he's got older. Like his best days are well behind him.
All right. We are with Ash now at 157, and he has gone for tight end as well. He is stuck with Tamu this time, going for Nate Burkert. Boakircher? Burkircher. Thank you, sir. And Ash says about him, a tight end who idolizes Dan Campbell, blocks like a motherfucker, and has some red zone capability. At the very least, he can play a similar role to us as John Bates does in Washington on a cost-controlled contract. Potentially, he could be our long-term tight end too behind Sam. Other players I was considering here were Catron Allen, the running back from Penn State, and the safety Michael Taft from Texas, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you. What do you think of Boakircher?
Burkircher's a sneakily good receiver. Like he's another like it's not like Delt. They've just not really used his receiving ability at all. I remember watching Halsey's tape when LSU were playing Tamu, and like there were a couple of times Burkircher had Halsey on skates. Like I think he's got such underdeveloped receiving ability, such untapped potential there. Like if you were going to do a proper development prospect on day 3 for tight end, I do think Burkircher would be my favorite. Because I just, again, he has run blocked his ass off at Tamu. He's done a really good job there in that regard. And I just don't think they've, again, used him enough. Like when you watch him run his routes, they're crisp, they're fluid. Again, another who sinks his hips really well, finds the gaps really well in coverage. And there was just a lot of times they didn't throw at him, which was just kind of odd. He kept getting open. So I think he's sneakily the guy to watch out of all these. Yeah, this is a lot to like about him. Only trouble is, I believe he is the oldest prospect in this draft. So you are taking a guy who is on in years. I don't think there's anyone older than him in this process. He's a 6th-year senior. So if you're going to take him as a long-term project, you're probably not going to be seeing his best years till he's 28, 29. If you're all right with that, I mean, it's a day 3 pick, fine, but it just depends what you like. He is very old, so take it or leave it. But yeah, certainly there's a well of untapped potential there with him, which I do like.
And now we are with you, and it's another one of your guys. Now here's a guy with all the red flags in the world, apparently, and they're a long time in the rearview mirror. And this is exceptional value, really.
Yeah, we need another running back. I am I'm not as sold on Pacheco as some others are. I don't mind having Pacheco here for a year, but we need another bowling ball who's going to do what Monty did for us, especially in the long term when Pacheco's done after this year. Seth McGowan, for me, fits the prototype. There are quite a few running backs I would take on day 3 who are in a big build, but Seth's the one who has caught my eye. Again, this goes back to last year, his time at New Mexico State, but people have heard me talk about him at length, so I won't do for long. But 6'1", 215, between the tackles runner, loves his north-south stuff, loves his contact, loves fighting through it, possesses a filthy cut and a first step, which just in the open field, he just makes guys miss consistently. Over 100 missed tackles forced in his career. And yeah, he was a guy who was the next big thing at Oklahoma 5 years ago and had the world at his feet, had a great freshman year and threw it all away, got thrown in jail. Three of them did his time, was blacklisted, had to go down to JUCO to play football because he couldn't play in the FBS and he's had to learn the hard way um, to get back to where he has and to his admirability he has. He showed out in JUCO. A lot of these guys who go down there who are former star groups just kind of give up. They think they're too good for it. He put his head down. He got to work. He earned the opportunity back up in the FBS. Goes to New Mexico State, not the sexiest place in the world to go. Knocks out nearly 1,000-yard season overall. Not too light on the touchdowns, but between the 20s, he was absolutely fantastic with that team. And showed that he got that four-star quality, which had got him recruited by Oklahoma all those years ago, and then made the move to Kentucky this year. And that Kentucky team has been garbage for years now, straight ass garbage, until they started putting Cutter Boley in towards the end of last year. He carried this offense for them last year. 166 carries, 730 yards, 12 touchdowns. He showed that he could find the end zone on a regular occasion, had a massive game against Ole Miss, and their fearsome defensive line with not the best blocking in the world either. Like, he's just a great chain mover in exactly the style that we need, who has shown great resilience to come back from what was a stupid mistake. And I think in day three, he possesses values far higher than day three. It is because of those red flags that everybody talks about, that they just kind of knock him down the chain and say, yeah, well, he's done with as a prospect. He's not. Anyone who watched him at the combine would have been impressed with him. And for me, he fits perfectly here as our running back three to start with. And then you move him in for Pacheco next year, and he takes his place as running back two here. This is a redemption story Detroit can do. So, yeah, I'm going to take him at 157 and bolster my running back room. I love him. And again, I don't usually like the kids with issues like this, so he really has to stand out to sway my mind.
I'm a big, big fan. When we started talking running backs, I gave him a look just before you picked him as one of your guys, and he just jumps off the page. There's no reason why he can't be running back two before the end of the year and relegate Pacheco, to be quite frank. I wouldn't be surprised to see him have that level. So I am all the way in, and I'm all the way in it about this position on him. I'm not sure I'd want to take him at 128, just because I think we have more needs at bigger value positions, but I can start to stomach it here. And I'm talking kind of running back in general, considering we've got Gibbs. Like, I just don't think we need to be looking at a role player that high. A 157, fantastic. Love it. We're coming back to you, and I'm just going to take 5 minutes after I introduce this person. This is another one that you took in your epic mock. It's someone potentially unfancied, but only because most have never heard of him in the first place. You're taking him at 181. You may be his biggest fan in the entire draft space. Maybe I'm doing him a misjustice, but this is another one of your guys.
Yeah, obviously the thing I love about Kyle Louis so much is we need a coverage linebacker going forward now that Alex Anzalone isn't here, and I couldn't fit Louis into this. And even if I did, I might take a swing on two guys. But for me, I'm going to go the underappreciated route again. And I don't think Matt's wrong. I am probably one of the highest on him at all because HBCU prospects don't get any love whatsoever, which is a shame. We do it year on year. We show you these guys, and more of them are starting to make the jump through. And it's the guys who should be listened to. So yeah, I have E40 himself, Eric Hunter, the Morgan State linebacker. He is 6'4" and 220 pounds. I love his size. Like, it's absolutely perfect for us. But he has been a Morgan State Bear for the last 5 years. Had to deal with injury in 2024. Otherwise, he would have come to last year's draft. But this is a guy who, first and foremost, is the ultimate leader. He has stayed at this program despite overtures from elsewhere. He is far greater than the level that he has played at. He has shown loyalty that you very rarely see in these players these days. And when the Lions look for leaders on day three, because they love to put the leadership out there, like he ticks every single box that you want with him in terms of the leadership aspect. He stayed loyal to the one program who gave him an opportunity. He did not move elsewhere. I have absolutely no personality issues with him, but it's more than that. It's the player that he is. His ceiling as a coverage linebacker is so high. First off, just as the middle linebacker in general, he's the general of your defense. He will make tackles for days, over 300 tackles in his career. I think he's second all time as a Bear, may even have been first. He offers you great pass rush upside, 48 quarterback pressures, 12 sacks, half a dozen of them were this year, and 2 quarterback hits, 3 forced fumbles, 2 batted passes. He finds a lot of different ways to make impacts on the games. Now, as a blitzer, what I really like, he shoots the A gap tremendously. Like we seem to struggle sometimes with linebacker pressure up through our D tackles. We seem to get a lot of it round the edge or sort of delayed as a quarterback's rolling out the pocket. This guy can shoot the A gap as good as anybody. He is highly athletic. He's got a great first step to get a jump on, and if you make a gap for him, he'll hit it. And he's really damn strong as well. He absolutely pancaked Anthony Boswell, the Toledo center, when they were playing earlier in the year. One of the best centers in college football last year, and he tossed him like he was a lawn dart. Like he got a jump on him, timed his pass rush to perfection. Oh, it was a run block actually, but timed his blitz to perfection, took the center off his legs, just threw him backwards. So another guy who can get into the backfield with tackles force, but it's his range at 6'4", 220. He's really quick, can go sideline to sideline, can deal with all these really fast, athletic, tight end running back types who we've struggled with for years now. He's really something that we don't have on this team. And first and foremost, he'll give you every single rep on special teams that you need as well. Even as a team captain, he still played the full amount of reps on special teams that he could. It was not a position that was beneath him. It was something that he saw as his duty as the leader to go out and lead by example. It's one of his most defining features, but it's what he can be at the next level. Like I say, an A-gap blitzer for us, a coverage linebacker when he adjusts to the quality of the NFL, which will be the issue. Playing in the MEAC and coming up to the NFL is a big gap in quality, but you watch him play, you watch the heart he has, and again, he's not a MEAC level player who's coming up to the NFL. He could have played in the Power Four if he wanted to. But he chose the loyalty to his program, and I will never ever hold that against the guy. So Eric Hunter is my guy here. A lot of other people will just have him undrafted. I'm not afraid to go higher on these guys and spend picks. 181's nothing at the end of the day. These third round picks, these day three picks are really nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's not too much value for him at all. I think it's perfect. He fills a big need for us. He'll sit, develop, give us some good linebacker depth, and he'll be the coverage guy in the future. So E40, love him to death. He is going to be in all my mock drafts, and no more so. He's one of the ones I want mostly here in Detroit. So, yeah. I just can't say any more good about him.
I know how high you've been on him. I really hope that he gets drafted. He deserves to get drafted. And we need to celebrate guys like this. Fingers crossed for him. I'm next up, and I take my second Texas Tech player so far. I am going to continue to draft Texas Tech players, I think. I have one more after this. But hey. This is someone who, as I've been reading up a bit more about him, I have noticed that there is one player he is comped to all the time, and I'll reveal that at the end, and then Ant can kill me. This is the safety from Texas Tech, Cole Wisniewski.
Wisnowski.
Thank you. He's 6'4", 6'3", and 2'8", 219. So as a safety, those are some very good numbers. Tall, big, former linebacker from North Dakota State, moved to Texas Tech for his 2025 season after missing all of 2024 with a foot injury in camp, which obviously is not what you want to see, but that's why he's getting drafted in this sort of range. And actually, I've overdrafted him a little bit, tends to go later in most of the mock drafts you have around here. But linebacker at NDSU for the first 3 years of his career, transferred to safety for his final year at North Dakota State, and really broke out, had an absolutely incredible year at North Dakota State, where he had 8 picks and 4 PBUs at safety. Took the step up after his injury and redshirt year in 2024 to go to Texas Tech, and had another incredible year at the highest level. Didn't quite have the ball production as he did at NDSU in 2023 with no picks in his most recent season, but he was fantastic in coverage. He was fantastic in run defense, which is what you would expect from a former linebacker. I think that, so he didn't test in terms of his speed and his agility, which I think is telling, because I do not think he is the fastest guy. He has some sideline ability, but I do not think that he's going to blow anyone away with his athleticism. There's people said the same about Brian Branch. I am not calling him Brian Branch, but what makes Cole different is what's between the ears. This is a cerebral player who sees things before they happen. He doesn't have to rely on his athleticism. And let's face it, safeties don't need to be athletic as long as they're intelligent. He sees things before they happen, and that's why he had plenty of ball production at NDSU. Didn't translate this year, but that happens sometimes. Interceptions come and go. But I firmly believe this could be a difference maker. We have a look at our safety room. Potentially there are injury issues there. I think Cole comes in day one and could start, especially at that strong safety position as Branch comes back. And then when Branch comes back, either one of these guys can play. There is some thought that Wisnowski could move back to linebacker because he's just so strong in run defense. A bit light to maybe play linebacker full time, but I think as that sort of guy who can kind of creep down into the box and hit, I think he'd be absolutely that guy. But we need someone like this, and because of how many other needs we have a look at what we've done in this draft through all of us. We've all gone basically some semblance of offensive tackle, edge, linebacker, defensive tackle, tight end, cornerback. But we need DBs. We need especially safeties, especially in the short term. Now, we've addressed some of that need in free agency, but there's no one really long term in that room that I really think is going to be around for a while after this season. I think Cole could be that guy. And if the injury checks out and he doesn't have a reoccurrence of that foot issue, and I get worried about feet problems because they do tend to kind of flare up every now and again. It is a concern of mine, but he absolutely lit up the Shrine Bowl. I mean, he was absolutely fantastic. The player that he keeps getting comped to, and can you guess? Do you know?
Don't ruin him for me.
Is Reed Blankenship.
Yeah, I'm going to take issue. No one's like Reed. Reed is one of a kind.
I knew you would say that, but do you know much about him? You've watched a fair amount of Texas Tech this year, right?
Cole Wisnowski's tremendous. I mean, this goes back to, like, Ryan's watched him for years. This goes back to his FCS All-American year in 2023. That first year at safety at North Dakota State, he was just fucking phenomenal. Like, he had like 10 picks in a year. Just everything that way. Considering he played linebacker for them, to go out there and to have the year that he did was great. And then you miss an entire season and go to Texas Tech. So he'd not played ball in nearly 2 years when he went to Texas Tech. And to do as well as he did for them, for me, just shows how good he is. Like, that was a massive step up for him this year. And yes, it was a star-studded defense, but at the same point, he was a rock at the back end of it for them. And the production doesn't really tell you the full story, but he's in for his run defense. Like, you know, he's a former linebacker. He knows how to stop against the run. You put him as a box safety, he is going to be one of the better options out there. You want someone who's going to play for Brian Branch early doors. Wisnowski's one of the guys you'll go for because he'll block for days. Texas Tech they've done nothing with him as a single high because they don't use that. He is primarily purely a box safety. You're not going to leave him back there at free safety, do any of that sort of stuff. But which is where his limit is and why he's a day three guy. But overall, he's got the right attitude. He is phenomenal against the run, and he quietly will get you a lot of interceptions, especially if you're looking again for kind of a guy you can hybrid a little in the middle to give you some coverage help in there. Like sneakily, he could be quite good. So yeah, considering how quickly he took to the position change, and then again, despite a year out, it's very promising for him. You say it's just you hope the medicals clear out and that he's all right because he has had quite a lot of injuries in his career, but as of late, he has been far more healthy. And like you said, you saw in the postseason in the All-Star games, the coverage, especially in the red zone's phenomenal. So there's a lot of upside to him, a lot to like.
In the end of the day, in day 3, some of them might not make it day 1. Some of them may not make it through their rookie contract. Unless you are specifically drafting special teams players for a special teams role, I want to swing for the fences. Give me a guy who might actually be a damn good player down the stretch. And if they end up not making the roster, because we have a better team now, that's okay too. Wisniewski could be someone who is a starting safety for his entire NFL career beyond the first year or two. And even then, like you say, he's going to start for Branch initially. So I am betting that the injury stuff is going to be okay, and I bet on how intelligent he is as a football player because it's bloody obvious when you watch him.
Yeah.
Right. Ash's pick, someone that he profiled in the safety show, in our favourite picks show. It is the safety from Kansas State, VJ Payne. Ash says, profiled this guy for the pod last week. While he does not have Kirby's elite range or Branch's versatility, Payne's able to offer good, solid safety play in all aspects of the role as the first guy off the bench. Not at all displeased he was still here in the 5th, as I have graded him much higher than this. Other players I was considering here were Caden Curry and Tanner Koziol. Now, he went tight end in the previous pick, so I hope he wouldn't double dip a tight end back to back. But VJ Payne, you a fan? And
I not someone I've really got done much on. I can't really add a great deal to that.
All right. Well, then in that case, we're going to go straight on to a running back I have profiled for this show, and Ryan Farden has picked him. Now, I think that this guy is not going to be available here. If he is, and we pick this guy, if we haven't picked your guy at 157, Nan, if we pick this guy, I'm going to be doing laps. I'm going to be doing laps of excitement because this is the running back from Penn State's K-Tron Allen. Now, 23 years old, 5'11", 216, short arms, but a terrific year for Penn State this season. 1,303 yards on the ground, also had 1,100 yards last season. Not a lot to speak about in terms of receiving game. He is, I think, an exceptional running back, carries his weight really well, low center of gravity, shifty and agile. Maybe the top speed is a bit lacking, so even when he does make a break, he's potentially not going to get all the way if it's a 60, 70 yarder that you're looking for. But great vision and patience, high football IQ, executes the play as planned, but he can make that one cut when he sees something's kind of dying on him. Contact balance for days. Inside and outside zone, power runs, love it. As a blocker, IDs rush as well, takes up good positions, can absorb heavy contacts, frequently looks for work, and then releases upfield if he's not needed. If he could develop his receiving ability, he can be a 3-down guy long term. But because he's a good blocker, you can have him as a rusher on 1st and 2nd and be a pass blocker on 3rd down. I really think he can. So if we want someone who can be that running back too, when Pacheco inevitably makes only 1 year, I think Katron Allen could be that guy. But I think he has the ability to be a bell cow back at the next level. And to find him at 181, I think is an absolute steal for Ryan.
Potentially, I've always been more of a Nicholas Singleton fan, and this goes back to when they first both came onto the team. I've never always been as high on Allen, and of course, he's not done any of the... Singleton did all the return work there. Allen hasn't. There's a lot more to his game than that, though. Day 3 running backs, you'd hope they'd get some return ability to them. I know he's not been a starter per se, but he's technically had starter workloads. There is a lot of tread on him as well, but at the same point, I think he probably could do more if he wanted to. He had a tremendous year this year, obviously leading Russia in Penn State history now, which is great. Oh, second.
No,
Second, he might
no,
be second.
no,
No, he's
he's
first.
first.
He's first, and Singleton's third.
And Saquon's
Around
second, but because he
Saquon's.
declared early.
Yeah. But yeah, as I say, there's potential upside. It's a day three running back pick on there, but for me, I've always just been a bigger fan of Singleton, so I guess it just squished my view on Allen a bit.
Makes sense. All right. Next up is Poole, but he has traded this pick away. He's gone down 6 places from 181 to 187, and he's picked up 223 in the process. So he gets himself an early 7, I believe that is. And at 187, he goes to the well of Michigan talent. First Michigan player drafted by any of us so far in these mocks. And he's gone for a position that we've all drafted a player at now, with the exception of Ryan Farden. He's gone tight end. And he's gone for the high floor, low ceiling player for me in Marlon Klein from Michigan. And any thoughts on Marlon Klein?
No, I know next to nothing about the Michigan prospects this year. I've done no work on any of them, so I will have to defer.
I'm sure some people in the chat will know a lot more about Marlon Klein than I do. So if anyone wants to talk about him in the chat, I will verbatim say what you say. And while we wait for that, we're going to go to the well of picks here. No one else picking at 187, of course, as that trade down was basically just for Poole. And instead, we're going to go back to... Oh, no. Poole's already traded away 205 as well. So instead, we are with Ryan now, again. And he has gone for the first quarterback that any of us have drafted. And someone who I think has some fans. Now, I don't know anything about him at all. You probably will. From Baylor, Sawyer Robertson is his guy at 205. Any thoughts there?
Sawyer's interesting. Obviously, he's been part of a very explosive offense at Baylor these last couple of years. He's the fun quarterback. I know he's sort of in between 4 to 6. Like, people love the size 6'4" and 220. Like, that is a really nice build for a quarterback. And the thing is, he has sort of this gunslinging arm because he was recruited to Miss State, who loved to use the air raid. Didn't quite get his start there, so we've moved to Baylor, and they've used him instead. But he flashes all the sort of pro traits, like I say, the build. He has an absolute cannon of an arm. There is no area of a field that he cannot hit. And to be fair, he's quite good when fitting it. He's got a lot of finesse to it as well, finding those tight coverage throws as well. Not too bad against pressure generally either. He doesn't get spooked too easy, and he has been hounded a lot behind that Baylor offensive line. It's just for him, the accuracy is just like there's a lot of throws in the arsenal there, but he is quite inaccurate for someone who throws the ball quite a lot. And, there are issues sometimes with the deep throws. He is susceptible to interceptions down the field. Like, he has the arm, sometimes can't use it as much as you want. It's something that can be developed with him for sure. And needs the anticipate. He doesn't have the anticipation that an NFL QB has, kind of throwing it before the routes developed. He kind of waits till routes develop until he starts throwing it. So there are some technical issues with him, but like, he's fun. Like, if the right team gets him and develops him right, again, you want a pass heavy team that's going to do it. Maybe not us, but I've picked a guy who's kind of in a similar vein to him later on. So I would not say no at this point. Like I said, with these picks at this point, you can only benefit from them. If they don't work out, they don't work out. It is what it is. But yeah, he is very fun.
All right, we now move to Ash's pick. He's also going running back, and he has taken a national champion. He has gone for running back Roman Hemby. Now, Hemby Ash says, if you're not convinced in Isaiah Pacheco's long-term outlook, or think that we need a reliable running back 3 since you don't trust Vaki or Sailors to be that, here's your answer. As I said when I profiled him a while back, Hemby has a running style similar to that of our dearly departed Knuckles. Hemby also has special teams experience, so he's able to take Sailor's roster spot, demoting Vaki into the RB4 special teams role that he should be in, and upgrading the depth at running back. The other players I was considering here were Jamal Haynes and Adam Randall. And what do you think of Hemby?
Oh, he's awesome. He's really good. He's been productive for years now. He's got like 3,500 yards in his collegiate career. So there's a lot of tread on him. Maryland he used to be in sort of a rotation there, but he got a lot of the ball. Obviously, he's been in rotation with Kalen Black this year, but he has been tremendous for them. He's absolutely right with the Monty stuff. He gets you the hard yards. He's got a career average of 5 yards a carry. Yards after contact is really good. Like nearly 800 of his 1,200 yards were after contact this year. Like there are a lot of times you hit him, he doesn't go down. And just there were games there's so many games I can remember when they were playing Oregon, Ohio State. He just ground out the 3-4 yard runs that consistently got Indiana into like third and short yardage situations where they could open up the playbook for Mendoza and his plethora of wide receivers there. And like he just did all the dirty work for that team. But like Monty, he can crack out big runs. He's not explosive, like he's not going to absolutely destroy you with his speed. Neither did Monty. Monty worked on his physicality and his footwork, getting him more yards than he probably should have done. And that's exactly the type of player who Roman Hemby is. And for the first time this year, he got used to, like Indiana used him as a returner as well. So he has return experience and he was pretty decent as a returner as well. So he's got that in his arsenal now. It's just the tread he's had in his career. He's got a lot of carries behind him, but in our team, he's probably not going to be asked to do too much in his first year, which probably benefits him. So I am absolutely not averse to this at all. Again, he's part of this plethora, guys. I just think way too highly of him. Like, I think he shouldn't really be available at this point, and maybe not even when Seth's picked, but people like Kalen Black because he fits the size profile a bit more and he's got a bit less tread on him. So who knows? You'd probably get him here, but I just value him a lot higher.
Moving on to my pick here, I'm picking someone else that I have profiled very recently, and that is the defensive tackle, again from the Red Raiders. This is Texas Tech's Skylar Gill-Howard. Now, if you're noticing a theme with my picks, it's that they all potentially have very high ceilings and very low floors. Skylar Gill-Howard may not be in the NFL in 2 years' time. Really, really depends on whether he has his injury issue, which he had at Texas Tech, kind of come back to haunt him, which, is potentially true. He spent the majority of his career he came through JUCO and then went to Northern Illinois before going to Texas Tech for his redshirt senior season. 6'1.5", 280 pounds, so an undersized defensive tackle for sure, but D2 Upper Iowa, I should say, as a linebacker. Then he redshirted and put on 50 pounds before then starting at Northern Illinois after that. Ankle injury ended his season against Kansas this most recent season. That's what I'm worried about. But this is a swing for the fences, much like a lot of my day 3 picks. He is a really good 1 and 2 gap player. So if you want him to hold up against bigger players, he can do that. He also could play potentially a bit of big ends. This is someone who I'm hoping can replace Levi. He's a former wrestler, so he's got those traits where he can definitely out-leverage people and throw them to one side. That's a 2-gapping ability that really pops up on tape. But the 1-gap stuff is incredible. Now, not the most athletic guy when it comes to the testing. 5.6 RAS, slow 10-yard split, small, moderately athletic, moderately agile, apparently. Watch the tape. Man explodes off the ball, like he times the snap incredibly well. And the first step is electric. He is past the offensive line sometimes before they've had even time to think. Against the passes where he really excels, he's got a way of getting skinny and getting through people that people who are a bit bigger just don't have. He's got some counters. He times his punch really well. He has a spin, although it's a bit laboured. I would take him in the low 5th. This is the low 6th. I'm calling it massive value. But like I say, I don't like the idea that he's got an ankle injury when one of the things I'm saying sets him apart is his bend. That gives me serious concerns. But that's why I'm comfortable taking him around later than I think he should probably go. But that versatility where he can replace Levi as a big end or a 3, 4i, 5 tech kind of guy. This is someone who we could be looking back and saying, how on earth did he go this low? Any thoughts, Ant?
Yeah, I love him. Guy who he was a Division 2 player. He was a walk-on at Division 2. Like, that's just how lowly he was recruited, and a guy who's just worked his way up through the system. And that Northern Illinois version of him was just destructive. You want an interior pass rusher. There's probably nobody better in terms of their raw interior pass rush ability. He can disengage blocks better than anybody. The hands are phenomenal. The pass rush arsenal is phenomenal. It's just the size. People are put off him for his size, and people are put off by the ankle injury. But it's his only injury in college. That's literally it. Like, he's been healthy for the rest of it. The durability issues are off the one injury, and before he got hurt, you could see why Texas Tech went out and got him. And again, this is a team that invested in Lee Hunter, one of the best DT on the market, and has got AJ Holmes, who is like one of the best D tackles in college, period. They still went out and got him and put him in that team, and he was a starter. He beat guys like this out. That's how good he is. It's just he is well undersized, and people are thinking that he's not going to translate to the NFL on the back of the injury as well. They reckon he's going to struggle, but you literally will not find a better interior pass rusher than him in terms of everything at his disposal. It is uncanny. And, if he finds that Northern Illinois version of him again in the NFL, then Christ, he's one of those who will, as a situational pass rusher, he'll just pop instantly. He'll be on some very aggressive, blitz-based team, which just absolutely love to go berserk. And he could be a real star there quite quick. So, yeah, I understand why he's down here, but if the medicals check out and that, he shouldn't be. He was a fringe first round pick this time last year, and there was a reason for that. So yeah, I like it here if you're going to get him at that and you trust the injury and whatnot. It's kind of like Holton, a bit more undersized, but yeah, a demolition ball in the middle, which is what we need.
Just had a little bit of an update from Ricky Scoops. If you don't know who Ricky is, you should, because his insider knowledge is second to none in the Twitterverse. Has some hits, some very big hits. Few misses, he's not entirely perfect. Ricky's reporting that the Texans and Will Anderson Jr. are getting close to an extension in excess of $50 million annually. Which is insane. But anyway.
He's fucking worth it.
Yeah, but still.
He's worth it. I genuinely still can't think of a player who was more dominant in college than him over the last 10 years. Like, it's men versus boys sort of stuff. And I think he's been just as advertised for them. It is a lot of money, but Christ, yeah, he's earned it.
Right, we're on to your pick now at 205, the last one at 205 for us. And you've gone with another one that you took in the Epic Mock. Someone who perhaps isn't the most fancied, but I know that you're high on this one.
Yeah, when you get to this point, these are guys who I just back because there's just years really of interest in them. But we need a corner in this draft, and so I'm going to take Josh Moten out of Southern Miss. And again, people will be going, yes, a guy who went to a big school when he came out of high school and had issues. He went to TAMU initially, He was a high four-star recruit. A lot was expected of him, and it didn't go well amidst a lot of accusations that he wasn't exactly the best in the locker room. There were some issues with his willingness to play, and that he wasn't playing. He was causing a bit of a stink, and a lot of players do in their years, and kind of had to take a little bit of a reality check, and went down to Marshall, where he completely rejuvenated himself and showed the talent that got him put up by. And I know apparently TAMU is triggering people, so I will try and say Texas A&M, but I prefer the abbreviation, and A&M just sounds crazy. But anywho, goes down to Marshall in 2023 with Charles Huff. Has his first year of being a starter, a little bit rough, take the roof with the smooth, but then gets into his 2024 year, his sophomore starting year, and he's just not looked back since. And he's shown every little bit of that quality that Texas A&M invested in him all those years ago, and he's turned into one of the best coverage corners in college football. 10 interceptions and 9 pass breakups over the last 2 years, and his coverage is just absolutely phenomenal. He doesn't give up that much when it comes against him. Missed tackle rate this year of 6% as a corner, over 60 tackles for him. It's just one of the many parts of his game which have really come on and developed, and which has seen an uptick in his run defense as well. But just shy of 6'1", 185 pounds, and he's an absolute ball hook. He will stick to you like glue, and he's done it to the best of the best. Even Jeremiah Smith, when he came calling, he baited Will Howard into a throw with the two of them and picked it off when it was too short, because Will Howard thought that he could outdo him. Didn't put enough juice on it. Moten picked it off, kept Jeremiah Smith under wraps the entire game. Again, showing the quality. He's probably playing at a level which is far beneath what he is, but it's not just the coverage ability, it's how he's improved his game so vastly. Like I say, the missed tackle rate has dropped to nearly nothing. The tackling, the execution, the technique with it all is tremendous. His coverage skills are exceptional, and he's grown as a person. So people will say red flag this, red flag that from his time at TAMU. Yeah, fine, whatever. Goes down to Marshall, win the Sun Belt in 2024, and he had the opportunity to leave again then and to go to a big Power 4 program and make himself a lot of money, and he did have offers to do so. Charles Huff gets fired, goes down to Southern Miss, which is the worst team in the Sun Belt, and they physically were that year, goes to completely rebuild that program. Josh Moten goes with him, the guy who saved his career from going down the absolute Swanee. He didn't take the money. He re-showed the loyalty. He showed his growth as a player and a person, not taking the money, going with the guys who looked after him and showing that he's grown up from the immature kid that he was back at A&M all those years ago. And a guy who, again, has had another sensational season. Southern Miss, much better, nearly got into the Sun Belt Championship game. He's one of the cornerstones of that defense, and he's playing at a level that belies his actual skill. You're going to get really good value with him, and his value at the next level will be his takeaways, the turnovers. There may be some adapting, or there will definitely be some adapting to the level of competition he's up against, but he's another who just has a nose for the ball, knows where it is, and he's got the athletic tools and the instinctual skills to be able to overcome any deficiencies that he might have in the skill department. So I think I'm going to get terrific value from him here. And again, I don't need a starter. I need a guy who can work in the rotation, and I know he will do whatever he can to get into it. So yeah, he's another he's rode the road to redemption really well. And, a lot of people are looking past him because they've not seen that. And I will get great value here with him.
I have nothing to add, and I'm sorry to put you back on the clock, but I don't know Josh Moten from anything at all apart from what you've just said. So I'm going to throw it back to you. And for the first time in this draft, I'm going to say to you that I think this is a slight throwaway pick. Now, you can tell me I'm wrong, but this is not my guy. And it is a lot of people's guys when it comes to potential backup quarterbacks. But tell me about this one. Try and convince me that I'm wrong here, because I don't see it.
So I've got Haynes King here at quarterback. I've not been shy on us needing a quarterback of the future potentially, and it's trying to find, I I don't know whether we're looking for a Jared Goff type, whether we're looking for more of a dual threat guy, but Haynes King is one of those now with the quarterbacks. I'm not deeply in love with any of them. I'm not gonna lie, and maybe this is, in part a little bit because I know the Lions have been very interested in him. But Haynes King himself, I do admire him and the type of player that he is. Now, obviously, he was another. A lot of stuff was expected back of him when he was at Texas A&M, and it didn't quite come to fruition. But there were games where you saw just how good he was. There was the year they beat Alabama, and he was absolutely fantastic. He diced up their team, which included Brian Branch, I believe, at the time, and a whole slew of other future NFL draft picks who've gone on and done really well. And you could see the talent was there with him. It went to Georgia Tech, and you thought, well, okay, that's kind of going to fizzle out, and not much is going to come of it. And he's completely rebuilt his career there. And the thing I love most about him is his resilience as a player. As I say, he's a really tough nut to crack. He's in that Jared Goff mold. He's just built different. 6'3", 215. He's got a really good frame about him. The passing has gotten better year on year. He used to have a massive turnover problem. I think it was like 18 in his first year at Georgia Tech, something like that. He's thrown 8 in his last 2. So he's been a lot better with his ball security. He's been, he's not an avid touchdown throw. Georgia Tech love to run the football. Obviously, you've had Jamal Haynes there. He is a very good dual threat quarterback in his own right. He's got, over 2,500, probably close on 3,000 rushing yards in college and 40 odd rushing touchdowns. So he is your dual threat guy, but he has a much bigger arm than people think. Because again, you didn't really get to see it at Texas A&M. You go to Georgia Tech, which is more an option side. He doesn't pass the ball as much, so I think there's still a lot of underdevelopment to his passing game, which can be exploited. He's got a very big arm, and he can throw it downfield. You saw his pro day. You've seen in the off-season circuit just how good it is. And he's just resilient. Like every time you try and knock him down, he will bounce back up and prove you wrong. And that Georgia Tech team has been damn good these last few years. It wasn't because of him that they didn't make the ACC title game this season, but they've had one of their best seasons in ages. And he's been part of that rebuild there. Absolute leader. Really reminds me of Goff in the way that he goes about his business. And I think Goff will be able to help him bring across the parts of his game which are a little finicky right now. Just making sure the accuracy is up there. It's pretty decent. It flitters around 70%. He's highly accurate like Goff, can make all the throws that he needs to. It just needs to sort his finesse out a little bit and deal with more volumes as a passer. But, for me, it makes a lot of sense. He fits our gritty style. He fits our style of being written off and, proving people wrong. And it may not work. He may be a backup here. I would trust him to come in with this team, and he offers that dual threat upside that Goff does not. So he gives us an extra little wrinkle we can use if we want to bring in him for specific plays. We want to design plays for him, especially short yardage in the red zone where Goff isn't the best in the world when it comes at running. You can use him as that as well. So he's very intriguing to me, and I've seen enough growth in his game to show that he's going in the right direction and he's got more to give. So, yeah, I got Haynes King here, and at 213, I think I'm getting good value here with him.
All right, I'm next up, and I'm also taking a national champion. And I'm also taking a running back, but it's not Hemby. It's the other one. Kalon Black here from Indiana. Now, Kalon Black, here's a guy, extremely athletic, 9.14 RAS score, although one of my concerns is I'm not convinced by that long speed. But anyway, we'll get there. 5'9" and 2'8", 211, 27 on the bench, 153 10-yard split, 445 40-yard dash, 455 shuttle, which is really bad, actually. 37.5 vert, 10'5" broad. So most of the numbers are really, really good when it comes to the athleticism. What I don't understand is the shuttle, because the guy has an incredible one-cut move. So how on earth a guy with a jump cut like him can't run a short shuttle. I don't understand it. But regardless, we move on. Potentially one of the best downhill runners in the class. So to pick him up here at 213's ridiculous. Now, when I watch him, I get myself pretty excited, not going to lie. Incredible contact balance, really low center of gravity, doesn't really seem to go down even if he gets his toes tapped, he manages to keep his feet. He plays with a violence and physicality that is kind of rarely seen of people of his height. Now, he may only be 5'9", but he carries 211 pounds, and he carries it exceptionally well considering he can run 4.45 40-yard dash. My concern with that is that while he makes many yards after contact, and is an extremely consistent runner, he didn't really show breakaway speed. So I was really surprised by his 40-yard dash time. I do think it's a knock on him in terms of being able to have that breakaway, but that's not really why you're drafting him. I think the majority of people are kind of penning him in as a complementary running back to who's especially a short yardage guy. I mean, if you can come in at 5'9" and you can put 27 on the bench and do 37.5 vert and 10'5" broad, you are explosive and as strong as you like at that weight. There is not very many people in the world built like Kalon Black. Didn't get a combine invite, which was one of the biggest snubs for me. One of the amazing things about him is how well he pass blocks, just throws everything into it, and he shuts down people far bigger than him. Now, if you get a 290-pound big end getting into the backfield, do I have concerns about that? Maybe yes. How often does a 290-pound guy actually get to the quarterback? Not that often, so I'm not going to worry about that massively. One of the knocks on him through the process has been his lack of receiving chops at Indiana, where he had 4 receptions in both 24 and 25. But my contention to that is, okay, but does his tape before Indiana not matter? Because he played at James Madison in the Sun Belt when they came up and had an incredible time, James Madison. And he was catching 17 and 27 catches in those 2 seasons. So if you want to ping him for a lack of receiving chops in the last 2 years, okay, fine. But it's not like he's never done this. So it's something maybe that you want to see again. But I'm okay with it. And he split reps with Hemby. So you've seen him in a rotation. He's been very complimentary. He went for 1,040 yards this year. Like, the guy hasn't got as much tread on the tyres as quite a lot of running backs in this class, like Hemby has. Is nowhere near that. He's only had 443 rushes in his career. 443 attempts in his career, which is, I don't think that many for someone who has been as productive as he has, especially in his senior season. I think he kind of plays like Monty. I think this actually is a really, really interesting swap. Because extremely powerful, very, very good at short yardage, really good jump and one cut. And then maybe the receiving ability can be developed. And I think 213 is insane for Kalon Black to go down this low. But what do you think of him generally?
I don't think he'll be there. The thing with him is he's had the unfortunate thing of always been buried in a rotation. He's never been allowed to be the number 1 guy. He goes back to the time at James Madison. I know he was second best to Tyson Lawton there, who then also came to Indiana with him. You know, you had Justice Ellison last year, Roman Hemby this year. He's kind of always had to be that supporting cast. He's done a lot of third down work. Like, he was the third down guy for Indiana this year. Once Hemby had done his damage, they'd bring him in to break open the doors, and he's done a ton of pass blocking. Like, I like the blocking of him. I think he's really good. I think he's got a lot of upside as a runner again, because it's just what kind of a load can he take at the next level? Because he's never taken a full bell cow load. I mean, you're obviously probably going to put him in a rotation, but when push comes to shove, can he make that advance forward? That would be the only thing. He's a slight bit on the shorter side at 5'10", so you know, that goes against him as well. But as a player, he's always been dependable. That's why Kurt Signetti's kept him around his entire career. That's why he bought him with him. He patiently waited his turn, didn't throw his toys out his pram when he got no rushes last year, waited for his opportunity this year and took it. So he's got the right mindset. He's got the right personality for it. And he does have an intriguing skill set. As you said, he's very well versed as a receiver, and they didn't use that because Indiana don't really use their running backs as receivers. They didn't need to this year. They had three of the best. They had probably the best triumvirate in college football this year and a tight end to boot, so didn't need to use your running backs. So potentially a lot to unlock that you've not seen with him on tape, which is why he will go much higher than this, despite the production otherwise. Yeah, he's got a lot to give.
Next up is Ryan Farden, and he's picked someone who I've never heard the name of before, or at least I don't remember it. And he's from a big school. He goes to Texas A&M. A&M for short. We don't mean Alabama A&M when we say that. We mean Texas A&M, obviously. He has gone for the defensive tackle, Albert Regis. I don't know him, and do you?
Not as much as some of those other D-line prospects from Tamu. I know he's another who's on the shorter side. This isn't another nose tackle-ish guy. I know there's no pass rush to him whatsoever. You're bringing him in as a run blocker. I think he's like 6'1", and like 320, but all I know is he's never had more than one sack in a season. I remember reading that about him. He's a nose tackle. A nose tackle who has no upside really as a pass rusher and is in there to stop the run really. And I'm not interested in those guys this year, so no, I can't really add a lot more.
All right, or maybe you'll know this guy a bit better. How about Poole's pick at 213, linebacker from Louisiana, Jaden Duggar?
Oh no, you want to go to Ash and that about this. This is their one. They you know, they're the power play when it came to Jaden Duggar, but there's nothing wrong with a raging Cajun. The Lions had good success in the past. Tracy Walker was a Louisiana kid, so I know with him it's like his size 6'5", 250. It's that ability, the hybrid, like he played slot earlier in his career. He's predominantly been a box linebacker this year, and most of his career at Louisiana, but worked his way up from Georgetown, so a small school guy who earned his opportunity at the next level. And yeah, the skill set's really good. He's a decent pass rusher. Nearly half a dozen sacks this year. So there is, and again, at that 6'5", 250, you can come and bring him and play him up on the edge if you want to. Louisiana didn't really do it, but someone at the next level might try and do that with him. But tackling machine, for the most part, yeah, tackling's really crisp, efficient, not too out of control. And just a really hard hitter. He's not a coverage guy at all. You don't bring him in for that aspect. You bring him in, as I say, as your outside linebacker type who's going to cause some damage in the backfield and will give you a nice presence at inside linebacker too. But I know those two are the ones who really, really love him, so they probably give him a more glowing endorsement than that. But yeah, he's not good in coverage. There's not a guy you want if you want coverage linebacker for sure.
All right, on to the Lions' final natural pick. We do have one person who's got an extra one in Poole because Poole traded down from 181 to pick up another 7th rounder. So we'll have one more after the 222s. But at 222, Poole has selected from Wisconsin the edge defender Mason Rager. And Rager. I never get his name right. I never get any of the bloody names right. He is someone I've profiled. I think he's a sleeper. Again, it's injury which I think is keeping him down this low. I think he needed to potentially medically retire when he was at Louisville. But he came back and actually Wisconsin cleared him and he had a fantastic year. 6'4.5", 251, 1.6, 110 yard split, explosion off the charts. I think that this is despite being a smaller player, I think is very competitive in the run. I think he can set an edge. Maybe against some of the really heavy tackles, I think they might give him trouble. But against the majority of the NFL, I don't think he's going to be overwhelmed even at 251. Against the run, explosive athlete, times getting off the ball well into top gear quickly, a technician with great hand usage, good bend, good dip, not a huge amount of counters, but that can come. Incredible motor, not the youngest prospect. He's a redshirt senior. He's going to turn 24 before the season begins. Think he can maybe put a little bit more weight on and maybe not lose that explosion. I think there's room to put a little bit of weight on his frame. But otherwise, I just think that this guy should be going early day 3. To find him at 222 here is a steal for me. What do you think of Rhaegar?
It's Rhaegar.
Thank you, sir.
I do like if I wouldn't pick Camera on day 3, I'd probably pick Rhaegar on day 3. And again, it's the story that you're looking for. I mean, a walk-on who's overcome serious injury. I mean, he wasn't a starter. He was never a starter at Louisville. So a guy who's never started properly, who was a walk-on, who loses an entire season to a gruesome leg injury and somehow manages to find his way up the pyramid into the Big Ten and have the season that he did. It's some resilience shown by him, and why people are excited is that get off. The first step is unbelievable, and you saw it in the Shrine Bowl. Just offensive linemen couldn't even get into position to set themselves against him before he was around their edge and took them down. That speed is elite, and it's what he bases his game on. It's absolutely incredible, and that's why people have turned heads with him, because he's not the most tenured. He is older and has not played the most snaps, but we've seen in a nutshell what he can do. And, you know, again, if you're looking for the attitude, if there's anyone who can prove people wrong and make the jump up to the NFL, given everything he's already gone through, you would bet your bottom dollar that he'd be the guy who'd be able to do it, which is why I know a load of people are interested in him. I can understand why he's down here. Again, like I say, limited time as a starter, the serious injury, and the fact that there's still a long way to go with him and he's an older prospect. So I can understand it, but somebody should take a jump on him early. If you've got plenty of picks on that early day 3 category, then just take him. I think, you know, he's going to settle in very quickly. People say he's undersized, but for his skill set, size isn't the thing. The speed will do him. He won't need the size, and he can bulk up a little bit if he wants to, but he's played a full season. He's a year removed from the injury. The flags should be gone in terms of how the medicals go. I do think someone should take him a lot earlier, but I can understand why he's there.
For Mr. Ryan Farden, his final pick is a lot of people's sneaky draft crush in this draft from BYU, the linebacker, Jack Kelly. And any thoughts on Jack?
Yeah, what the hell's he doing there? I don't know. Jack Kelly's another one of those who doesn't really have a business been there. Like, he's the opposite side of the scale. We're talking about Ryger with no experience. Jack Kelly is so vastly experienced, it's unreal. I remember him as a Weber State standout, and then he goes to BYU, and we know what BYU like to do with their linebackers. They're built differently, and this guy, especially off the edge this year, they've been using him up on the line as well. I think he had a double-digit sack season this year. He brought the intensity and pressure. He had a wonderful holy war, really led by example in that one for them. Like, it meant a lot to him, this did. He's massive upside as a pass rusher. And yes, he's just 6'2", 242, so people might say he's undersized at the next level, but in terms of one of the outside linebacker types, you know, he's got a huge array of pass rush moves that can get at you. And create the opportunities for him, because, I mean, BYU's not exactly known for that defensive line. You know, he's had to do a lot of this work himself. But again, born leader, captain on that side. Again, pass rushing chops. Lions need it. They need someone who can get to the quarterback a bit more often. I do really like him. I think he's a really solid player. Might not have the ceiling some of these other guys do, but yeah, I can get behind it. It's a good pick. Yeah. Highly experienced guy, kind of like Rodrigo, just like the pass rushing version of Rodrigo, whereas Rodrigo's a run stuffer.
All right, we're going to Ash's final pick at 222, the cornerback from Toledo, Andre Fuller. So here's a guy, Ash says. Big, tall, press man corner the Lions have met with. Really wanted Chuck Demings earlier, but he wasn't there. But there would be worse picks than a shot at a more outside corner depth late in the draft. Other players I was considering here, Harold Perkins Jr. and Cole Payton. If you could have drafted Cole Payton at 222, come on, man, what are we doing? But he goes Andre Fuller. Any idea about him?
I remember Arkansas Pine Bluff Andre Fuller. It's one of the first years we were doing HBCU stuff, and he was an absolute standout there. Obviously got his move to Toledo. I think injuries have been hampering him. He's been set back by injury there quite a bit. Didn't see a lot of playing time, but I know he's burst out this year. But he's based on the run defense alone. 6'2", 202. He's a bit of a bigger corner. And he loves nothing more than coming down and thumping a screen and blowing it up. That's the kind of guy he is. Certainly, it's the run defense first with him. You're not getting him as like a massive coverage guy. It's not too bad. The productivity is not really there that you would like. But I mean, overall, it's quite solid. But a team who loves its run defensive DBs will be really interested in him. Again, he's been around a while. He is an older prospect. I think he spent 5 or 6 years in college. But yeah, I remember the Pine Bluff guy who was really good. He showed out this year, so I wouldn't put it past him to prove wrong again.
All right, I have gone quarterback for my final pick. And I'm worried about it because it's not really someone I know a huge amount about. This is a shot in the dark for me, but I've been reading scouting reports, and I feel like I have some rationale here for taking this guy. It's the one I hear most about in this range for the Lions, and it is the quarterback from Illinois, Luke Altmaier. Now, Altmaier, 7.01 RAS, 6021, 210. Good explosion, 32-inch vert, 9'6" broad, 164 10-yard split, 4.72 40-yard dash. What attracted my attention, I'll read you effectively the scouting report from NFL Draft Buzz, and go and read NFL Draft Buzz's scouting report on him so I don't feel bad about reading this off. But tell me that this doesn't sound a bit like Jared Goff. Altmaier wins with his eyes and his preparation, not his arm. The way he stares off a safety, holds him for a count, then comes back on the dig to the opposite hash shows a quarterback who understands how to set up throws. He's patient through his progressions, comfortable working bootleg concepts off play action, and willing to take the underneath option rather than force something downfield. That final possession at Rutgers, marching 75 yards with no timeouts, tells you about the competitor. The arm is what caps the projection. When the pocket is clean and throws are on schedule, he drops the ball into intermediate zone windows with enough touch to move the chains, but when defenses bring tight man coverage, the ball floats on in breakers and he cannot drive it through small windows the way NFL starters need to. The double clutch he has compounds the problem, and his three-quarter slot gives linemen a chance to back passes at the line. Too many sacks came because he stood flat with no feel for what was coming off the edge. That's the bit maybe where it deviates. Here's the final paragraph which really sticks out to me. If Goff gets injured. The realistic outcome for Altmaier is in a backup role in a timing-based system where the reads are defined and the ball comes out on a spot. West Coast concepts, quick game packages, structured play action are where he functions best because the scheme narrows his decisions. He will not create outside the structure or extend broken plays into big gains, but he can manage a game plan without sinking a team for a stretch if the starter goes down. Goff is not vaunted for his arm, I think quite unfairly, but this is where we are. The Lions, for want of a better term, do a lot of West Coast concepts. I think to our detriment. But, he's come out of the LA Rams who used to run a lot of West Coast stuff. Quick game stuff is a lot of what we do. And intelligence being his biggest trait is exactly what Jared is all about. Can he run the same system as Goff? I'm going to say on the basis of that rundown, yes. And I know that you're somewhat of an Altmaier guy, I think.
No.
No? Are you not?
No.
Oh, I've
No.
got that completely wrong. Apologies.
No. He is about the most unclutch quarterback you'll find in here. Every time Illinois have played a big game, he has been useless. Yeah, well, we had such high expectations for that team this year, but he's what they call a shrinking violet. When they played Indiana, it was meh. when they played against Ohio State, there was nothing really there whatsoever. And I remember last year as well, shit the bed when they played against Oregon. Like, it's been a good team there. He's had some good receiving options. I've never known a more unclutch big game quarterback in quite some time. He might have this, that, or the other, but every time the lights shine bright, he doesn't. Kind of indicative of that Illinois team in general, but he's the leader of it. He leads by example, and I can't name one big game he's had against really good opposition. Um, so I'm just, coming up to the NFL. If you can't show it against bigger opposition in college, you've got no chance when you get up to the NFL. You'd be eaten alive. So yeah, no. No, thank you.
Fair enough. Right. Your final pick. You went with a third proctor of the day.
I finish it off with my Division 2 standout, and I'm going to continue to keep drafting him. DeAndre Proctor of Johnson C. Smith. This was kind of a love that came from the HBCU Legacy Bowl. But, I need a bigger bodied wide receiver on this team. And we need it yesterday. I think we've got a good receiving core, but I think we can supplement it with somebody who's got a little bit of a bigger body, who's going to be that contested catch guy going forward. Not to say Tesla won't be, but I want someone who's going to throw his weight around. And Proctor does. He is 6'3", 210 pounds, coming off a big season for the Golden Bulls. Had 932 yards, 10 touchdowns. They won their first championship in 60 years this year, and in their championship game, he went 7 for 146 and 2 touchdowns. A big game player, although at much of a lower level. But I watched him play. I watched him play in that game. His ability to find the gaps in coverage was uncanny. His ability in contested catches against guys of an opponent of a level he'd not played at before were tremendous. He just beat everybody. When he went up in the air, he was the one who went and got the ball, and a load of DBs tried to stop him and they couldn't. It really stood out to me, just his traits that he has. He's very athletic. Obviously, it's going to be a massive, massive step up to the next level, but you're in round 7 here. You're looking for someone who can potentially sit on your practice squad, learn, develop, and become something in the future. And I do genuinely see something in him. If I can't get Malachi Fields earlier, which I can't because I don't like the value for where he's at, then these are guys I'm going to be looking at otherwise. But this is my complete and utter wildcard swipe here. I've just got a feeling about him. I like what I see, and I'm going to give a second HBCU guy a chance, because these are the guys you can find on day 3 who will give you value just because of how overlooked they are. So, yeah, I finish off with DeAndre Proctor from Johnson C. Smith, the wide receiver.
The final pick that we have is Poole, who picked up 223, and he's picked up a player we've already discussed. Roman Hemby still available at 223 in his draft. Yikes. But hey, what a player. So, my question now to you all in the chat and you on the podcast is, whose draft is best? And maybe whose draft is best and you think is the most realistic is maybe the way to go this. I don't know. For Ryan's sake, in the poll, I'm going to take him out only because he doesn't come on the show very often, and Paul and Ash do so. So if someone else gets voted for, I can kind of talk to that person about it when they're next on. But I am going to list out these choices here as they appear. Out of these 4, please tell us who you think has the best draft. Poll is live on YouTube. And let's run down the draft classes that we have here. So I'm going to start with Ryan, who I haven't put up as an option. Sorry, I can only get 4 choices. Ryan Farden has Caden Proctor at 17 from Alabama, tackle. Cornerback Colton Hood from Tennessee at 50. Safety Zachy Wheatley from Penn State. At 128, edge Anthony Lucas from USC. 157, defensive tackle Dante Corleone, the Godfather, from Cincinnati. At 181, running back Catron Allen from Penn State. 205, quarterback Sawyer Robertson from Baylor. At 213, defensive tackle Albert Regis from A&M. And at 222, linebacker Jack Kelly from BYU. And Ryan has just messaged me saying, the fuck, man. Sorry, dude. I love you, man.
That him, not me, Ryan. Don't blame me. It's all him. I don't get a say in this. It's an oligarchy here.
If you think Ryan has had the best draft, stick your name in the chat right now on YouTube, because it's okay. I can say I'm wrong here. Poole is next up with his draft class, and he has gone tackle Spencer Fano from Utah at 17. At 46, edge Zion Young from Missouri. At 94, defensive tackle Darrell Jackson Jr. from FSU. At 128, cornerback Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin. At 187, tight end Marlon Klein from Michigan. At 213, Jaden Duggar, linebacker, Louisiana. And at 222, Mason Reiger, edge, Wisconsin. Also picked up 223, Roman Hemby, running back, Indiana. I will say that he only made 4 picks out of the 9 in their natural position that we currently have. So, fair play, Paul, for making my life just a bit more difficult. Love you, buddy. Ash's draft class. Well, he did a trade down from 17, took Blake Miller, tackle, Clemson at 24. And then with 38 in a trade up goes Zion Young, edge, Missouri. At 70, Kyle Louis, linebacker, Pitt. At 107, defensive tackle, Caleb Proctor, Louisiana. 157, Nate Bircher, tight end, A&M. At 181, VJ Payne, safety, Kansas State. At 205, Roman Hemby, running back, Indiana. And at 222, Andre Fuller, cornerback, Toledo. For me, tackle Spencer Fano, Utah at 17. Malachi Lawrence, edge, UCF at 50. At 85, Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker, Texas Tech. At 128, Oscar Delp, tight end, Georgia. At 181, Cole Wisnowski, safety, Texas Tech. At 205, Skylar Gill Howard, defensive tackle, Texas Tech. At 213, Kalen Black, running back, Indiana. And at 222, Luke Altmaier, quarterback, Illinois. And I've said enough. Please, can you run down your draft class, sir?
Yeah, so I traded pick 17 for 24 and 70 from the Browns. Took Max Iheanacho, the offensive tackle from Arizona State, at 24. At 50, take my safety of the future, AJ Halsey from LSU. At 70, with that extra pick, I got defensive tackle Grayson Holton from Oklahoma. And at 118, I got defensive end Mikhail Kamara from Indiana. 128, tight end Justin Jolie from NC State. At 157, running back Seth McGowan from Kentucky. 181, linebacker E40 Eric Hunter from Morgan State. 205, I've got cornerback Josh Moten from Southern Miss. 213, we've got quarterback Haynes King from Georgia Tech. And 222, my Division II starlet DeAndre Proctor from Johnson C. Smith. Yeah, that is my draft there. And I know that I'm never going to win any of these things because I searched the weird and wonderful who no one know about, so no one knows if I'm telling the truth or not. So I don't mind. That is my cross to bear.
I'm going to leave up the poll for a little bit. We have some questions, and there's one that I kind of wanted to get to because I thought it was interesting. From Ken Stauder, who asks, most people have tackle or defensive end as our first 2 picks. What position group do you guys feel the Lions are most needy? Next up, I have a hard time separating safety and cornerback, he says. Outside of defensive end and tackle, what's our biggest need?
Ooh. Coverage linebacker. For me, that's a massive need for us. It's just who's there and where they're at. So, yeah, coverage linebacker is a massive hole in this team for me. We need to fill it quickly.
I go back and forth on this question because what do you mean by need? Do you mean immediate need? Do you mean long-term need? I think it's a very hard question to answer. If you're talking about immediate need, tight ends really pops out quite quickly. Safety really pops out quite quickly. Cornerback, not so much. Cornerback, we should have 2 starters out there. Never mind 3 starters if you count nickel. So corner, while we could do with some depth, and maybe Arnold's not going to work out, and maybe DJ Reed is going to be, injured. I don't know. But theoretically, they're both going to be out there day one. Tight ends, are we really running with Brock Wright? Safety, are we really running with whoever the fuck we brought in with in free agency? Like, if we're talking day one, it might be safety. Even though we've brought in people, I don't necessarily believe in what we brought in. Safety's a bit scary, actually. Like, we've brought in people to kind of stop the bleeding, but, I mean, let's just have a look at
I'm not buying all this rhetoric that we've suddenly got a right deep room there that the beat are trying to plug.
So,
I think it's very disingenuous to say we've got a deep safety room right now. It's tenuous at best.
So at the moment, our safeties, not counting Branch and Joseph because they're not going to be available day one, are Avonte Maddox, Thomas Harper, Chuck Clark, Christian Izzy, and Dan Jackson, Lauren Strickland. And can I say, ideally, not a starter among them.
Oh, I think I wouldn't mind Harper, but I think Harper's shown he can be.
Yeah, but Harper may be quite low on that depth chart compared to Maddox and Clark.
Harper's the best safety on that list.
I would potentially agree with you, but I think a lot of people wouldn't.
But you either can or you can't. You can. You don't have to potentially. Thomas Harper is the best safety on that list. Avonte Maddox for all these things, and as much as, Al's a fucking crybaby who can't deal with any criticism, he put out a very scathing tweet about Maddox, which was very true. A lot of his, numbers last year were very poor in areas we needed him. So, he wasn't the stable influence we thought he would be. So I think Harper's the best of that lot. And for me, Harper, you really want to be your first backup. And he's the first on that list, so yeah, we do need help there.
Do I want to go as far as he's the best safety we have? I think that I would potentially risk Chuck Clark over Harper because he's been a starter for quite a long time in the league, and I'm going to hope that his injuries are behind him. But Harper's been the most injury-free with the better tape recently. So that's why
I've seen Thomas Harper do it in a Detroit Lions uniform. That's all I care about. I don't give a fuck what they've done elsewhere.
That does mean a lot. It genuinely means a lot. Okay. I have been accused of not taking questions from the chat by Grandizer. Thank you, Grandizer. I have scrolled through half the chat and I have not seen a huge amount of questions that I've missed. And by that I mean I haven't seen questions I've missed. You said, wow, zero love for Daniel Sobkovic. Thank you.
The Illinois State. The point is, we can't put everyone in a draft. I know I've not got some of my fit. I know Tiernan's not in there. I know Louis not in there. I only have so many spots for so many players. So it is what it is. But put 2 HBCU players in there. Like, come on, we're giving the love here. This is actually quite a sad draft for me. This is the first year really where I've seen some of these kids since they came into college and have followed their entire careers pretty much, and they go into the NFL now, and it feels like this is an end of an era draft. This one is like, some guys here I've seen their entire career pretty much, and it's just like, I'm getting old. But yeah.
All right. So I'm going to close the poll, stop the count. And you got 3 of the 9 votes.
Woohoo!
But you did not win.
I knew I wasn't going to, so I don't mind.
The winner is Ash.
Well, there we go.
And frankly, given the players he's acquired, I'm not surprised. Miller, Young, Louis, Proctor, Bauerkircher, Payne, Hemby, Fuller. That's a good class.
Well, it wins just because Kyle Lewis is in there. Whichever draft Kyle Lewis in wins it, so
I asked a few Discord channels, who do you think's done it best here? And the one response I've had so far said it's between me and Ryan, which I think is quite fun. But there we go.
I don't
Whatever.
care. You know me. I sit on my little island of loneliness, and I don't care. I fully 100% believe in all my views, and I take the unorthodox route. So I don't need validation, as they say.
Right, now that we've got that in the rearview mirror, there was a tiny bit of news maybe just to go through. First off, former Lions cornerback Chris Payton-Jones has unfortunately passed away aged 30. UDFA out of Nebraska in 2018. Was waived in final cutdowns, re-signed to the team in 2020, made one regular season appearance, spent some time in the UFL with Seattle and St. Louis. Very sad that he's gone at only age 30. That's terrible to hear. Moving on. Linebacker Alex Anzalone and has had a lot to say in recent days and weeks. On a scale of 1 to shut the fuck up, how frustrated are you at all of this happening? Because it seems to happen every time someone leaves the Lions, and so in that way I kind of don't put a huge amount of stock in it. It kind of feels like how the leader of the Hidden Village of the Den handled his exit. But it does feel like this was more consistent. He has done it over a number of interviews over quite a long period of time. Anzalone has not taken his exit particularly well.
No, but at the end of the day, again, I judge him by what they did in a Lions uniform, and he gave his everything for this team his entire stay here. Not once did he quit. Not once, even last year when they were having the contract issues, he came, he played, he did everything he needed to. So I'll always thank him for that. This is the problem. And this is a problem we're going to have in years to come. We're seeing more and more veterans getting pushed to the wayside to pay the young ones. We've seen it with Monty's exit. It was unceremonious given what he's done for us with Anzalone, Lopez, AQM. We can't afford to pay these guys, and we're telling these guys to put everything on the line for us and give us everything we've got and break themselves in half. And when it comes to rewarding them, we don't. And that is unfortunately the problem we have to deal with. The more young guys you pay, the less money there is for vets. And my only concern, because we're at the point now of this build where we should be a ring chasing team where vets want to come here and vets will take a little bit less money to come and see us, to come and play for us and help us in that regard. But I feel like getting vets is going to get harder and harder. And we're going to have this problem next year if Pacheco shows out, if McCreary shows out, if one of these guys shows out, and quite rightfully earns a new deal, and we start trying to lowball them and tell them to come back for little and stuff like that. We're going to get a reputation for screwing over veterans. Taylor Decker is another one. So I know people are quick to lay the blame at Alex's door, but this is a problem I've been worried about for a long time. Building through the draft the way we do, the kids get everything and the older siblings get nothing, and that is going to lead to discord eventually. And we've got to hope that the young kids keep doing well and keep being worthy of their contracts. So it's a shame. And yeah, I was the one who didn't really want Alex when he first came here, and I'm the one kind of backing him at this point. So, it's a shame to see these vets end this way with the team. But as I say, it's a problem that's going to keep getting worse the more we keep paying out, and we're going to have to find some way to overcome it.
I love Alex. I was so happy he came here. Probably one of his biggest fans out of New Orleans. He backed me up. We paid him, which a lot of people didn't want to do. And he backed it up again. I am not going to lose my shit like I didn't with Jamal Williams on his way out. I'm not going to lose my shit over someone throwing a little bit of shade. There is no loyalty in business, be that actual work or whether it's sporting work. Loyalty doesn't go either way. When you are a player on a different team, your job is to say that you love where you were and it's much better than where you were before. That is the job, because you want to ingratiate yourself to the fans that you have. And actually, a lot of what Alex said probably wasn't untrue. He said, I think they wanted to keep me here, but the money wasn't quite right. I don't think that's necessarily him throwing shade. It is him being quite truthful about it. Now, I think that Alex has been a bit naive in terms of when a lot of people were throwing at him quotes like, maybe the Lions can't afford to keep you here. And he was tweeting back at them saying, I don't know what you've heard, but I haven't heard it. And then it came true, and he's talking about the exact thing that people were telling him was going to happen. I think it's quite funny that maybe he's appearing to be surprised. But whatever. I kind of just don't care. He's been one of the best Lions in this era.
He's been a pivotal part of the build.
He's been a captain, a leader by example, someone to rally behind. Thank you.
And it's the same with Monty, and it's the same with Decker. And you're now going to have a problem. And obviously the whole thing with Frank I've been told to pay his money back and all that, and I know we've had a say on that, but you can't preach loyalty to your draft pick. I mean, if you preach loyalty to your draft picks, fine. Draft picks make up so much of a roster, and you can only pay so many. You can't keep them all around if they end up being good. You have a lot more of a roster to look after than just your kids. And constantly trying to scavenge for free agent veterans on the cheap who are injured and have something to prove is not a good way of doing long-term business, especially when you start getting in the knack of betraying them when it matters. They will lose trust in you. Like, you think the vets on this team now, there's not too many, but maybe DJ Reed's thinking, well, Christ, I'm not one of theirs. Am I next on the chopping block because they can't afford me next year? And it percolates through the team, and it's only going to get worse when Jameer's paid, when Jack's paid. If Branch gets paid, if Laporta gets paid.
No one else is getting paid.
No, and that's the thing. It's going to keep getting worse. We can't keep bargain binning free agency every year and hope we land on AQM and Rock Yassin and all these guys, and then just let them go and start again. And again, you're losing trust with your veterans, and that's the problem with the way. That's why we can't be. When you want to pay every single draft pick and you don't want to trade any of them away, well, this is the price you're going to pay, and it's a very serious price that you're paying. It's the price of doing business this way. And it's just, I think we could find a better balance with it. I think we could have found a bit more money for Anzalone to bring him back and to, get another year or two out of him. I think we could have done better with Monty and not shoehorning him out the team last year just so Jameer could, go nuts all the time. We had a perfectly good balance beforehand, so I don't know why we needed to change that. And Taylor, whatever's gone on, I don't care. But, obviously something's broken through the cracks there. You need to do it better. But, if people don't think this is a problem, this is a problem. And it's not all on the players. This is on the team as well. And, yeah, it is what it is. We'll have to see what the repercussions are in the long term.
Grandizer has actually reproduced questions, which I did see. So apologies, Grandizer. You were right. I was wrong. I should get used to this. I have the same problem with my own girlfriend. Hey, there we go. He asks, if the Lions do trade down, how far can you trade down? To the 20s in the first round, late first round, early second round, other? And how far are you willing to trade down for what comp? Like, what's the furthest you could go?
I said I'd go no further than 25 or 26. I'm certainly going. We need game-changing players. I don't want to go back to 32. I want someone who's at least got a seminal chance of being something great in the first round. So, I'd say my floor is, I think it's San Francisco. That might be 27, but that's my ultimate floor. I'm not going back any further than that, no matter what I'm given.
So I have two answers to this. The furthest I really want to trade back is something like 22. I don't want to trade back any further than that. I don't like the fact that there's probably not going to be any tackles I like beyond 22. I think the tackle run is going to come quickly and it's going to come hard. As soon as that first one goes off the board in that, like, quote-unquote second tier of guys, I think they're going to come off the ball very, very quickly because people are going to twitch. So, 22 is the real answer. if you want to go further than 22, I want to go far enough to pick up a 1 next year. And I don't care how far that is. So, if you're going down from 17, I'm, in theory, okay with trading down to pick up, let's say, 46 and pick up a future 1. And you do basically what the Rams did last year. I don't see any problem with that. I quite like the idea of picking up a 1 next year. If the class is going to be as good as it's vaunted to be, and even if it's not, who cares? You get 2 1s in that draft. Give me a 2 this year, be that a mid 2, early 2, whatever, and give me a 1 next year, and I am okay with that. But someone has to go bloody mental in order to offer you that. So the real answer is to 22. In this fancy world where someone offers you a future 1, a mid-second round is okay.
The future firsts are fine, but the back end of 23 and 24 is really screwing up our pipeline right now. We need to start pumping draft picks back into the team again. I don't think we can afford to wait because of the cap sitch. I'm loath to start moving them away now because we've got to start filling gaps with draft picks soon. Otherwise, our cap's going to be fucked.
All right, so I have got Ken Stouder asking me to share his mock, which he sent to me on emails, where he trades back to 34 with Arizona. Arizona give up 17 for 34, 65, 104, and 143. That is an early second, an early third, an early fourth, and an early fifth. Sounds like a terrific haul, but only if you actually can do with it something good. Now, he turns that into Ian Atcher at 34, Keontae Scott at 65, Bud Clark at 104, and Landon Robertson at 143. That's a good haul. But whether that can actually happen or not is insane. I mean, the draft that you sent over is ridiculous. Ian Atcher at 34, Lawrence at 50, Keontae Scott at 65, Bud Clark at 104, Caleb Elams Orr, who I love, at 118, Jalen Farmer at 128, Landon Robertson 143, Seth McGowan at 157, Daquan Wright at 181, James Brockermeyer at 205, Carson Beck at 213, and Jacoby Thomas at 222. That's a ridiculous draft. I don't think it can happen. But if you do go down to the early second, picking up a 3...
How many Hurricanes was that? Was that 5 Hurricanes?
Keontae Scott is 1.
Brockermeyer
is 2. Carson Beck is 3. And Jacoby Thomas
were
in
4.
There. Yeah.
We've got 4. 4 Canes. Ash would love that.
Ash
4 Canes in one draft.
Yeah, Ash might stop watching the Lions as well.
If they drafted 4 Canes, then he wouldn't be the happiest of bunnies.
Grandizer also had one question, which is, which Lions player should get a deal before the season starts?
Jack.
Yeah, I'm with Jack as well. I think the easy answer is Gibbs, but the real answer is Jack.
See, there's just a little part of me now. It's only a tiny part. I love Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jahmyr Gibbs can be one of the best Lions running backs of all time, but there's a little part of me that's not willing to part with over 20 million a year for him.
And he's not going to be worth more than he is now. You might get a record haul.
There's a growing part of me that doesn't want to pay Jahmyr what the market's going to demand. Because again, people say 20 million plus, and I say this, the top 2 running back contracts are 20 million a year, right? Those are both 2-year deals. They're short-term deals. They are not long-term deals. You would go down to 16 or 17 million after that. So I don't think those 2 base deals, I think it's for Barkley and Henry, if I remember rightly. They're both just 2-year deals. They're short. I don't think they should be treated as base for a new long-term running back contract for Jahmyr. I sure as hell, if it's getting to the 23, 24 million a year mark, I may even start thinking about trading him. And I love him to death. But with our cap situation and the amount of money we're taking out, there is starting to be a world where I don't want to do the deal.
I don't hate what you're selling at that point. Oh, right. I have another mock to give you, which is the initial one that I did, which is where I did the Browns trade 17 for 24 and 70. But I also traded up into the second. So not unlike what Ash did, but I traded further up. So I traded with the Pats to go up to 31, sending 50, 118, 205, and a 2027-7. So my draft that I did initially, and then I did a second one, and I thought I'll go with that one because I think it's more realistic. I got Miller at 24, TJ Parker at 31, Max Clare at 70, Landon Robertson at 128, Lewis Moore at 157, Adam Randall at 181, Mason Reiger at 213, and Max Bredesen at 222.
Max Clare's a hack. He's been refusing to test. So I'm not spending 70 on him. He's refusing to test and do any athletic drills whatsoever. So's Joe Royer and a couple of the other tight ends. When you don't do anything like that, you immediately put yourself on my suspicious list. And I still don't really like him that much as a player anyhow. So I would certainly, certain as hell, not be using that pick on him.
Fair enough. I think getting Miller and TJ Parker is the dream. In a
TJ
trade
Parker
down
would be.
Yeah.
TJ Parker's my ultimate trade down guy. Like, I would go back to 28 or 29 if I could be guaranteed TJ Parker and take that really high draft capital at some other point. But yeah.
All right, we've taken some
But
questions.
I like Ken's one though. Ken's mock's good. He's got Seth in there. Max, Malachi. Brockermeyer's underrated. Yeah, you did a good job there, Ken. I like that.
I think Ken did too. Right, the last bit of news we had is just before we went live, Brad Holmes was at the podium. Just a quick few talking points from what he was saying. He didn't join the owners' meetings because, frankly, he thinks he gets behind when he does that, and there's plenty of draft prep to do, and he's prioritising that. Don't hate it. He feels that DJ Wanham, Edge, and right tackle Larry Boreham have starter level ability, and the Lions don't have to supplement them with talent. He says starter level. That doesn't mean they're mid-level starter level. That could mean they're the worst starters in the league. So I'm going to take that with a pinch of salt. He says he talks about the immediate needs of the team and future needs potentially not aligning and needing to anticipate issues in advance rather than doing just stuff in the short term. And he said he feels good about staying at 17, but it could be a trade-heavy year generally in the league. He doesn't really know, but it could be. Any thoughts?
My only thoughts is he's not going to say anything different about Boreham and co because, you don't go out and say your players aren't starter level. That's just, he's not going to come out and say anything else. So, of course, he's going to give them his backing. The only thing other than that, I know he's talking about the needs of the team and looking for the future and that, but at some point, Brad, the present has to come. It's all very well looking towards issues you may have in the future. And, we have been harping on for ages, like centers and stuff like that. We've not done well enough, but we do have to look at the now as well. We can't keep waiting, right, well, we'll wait for this year for this guy to come. And then we're preparing for DJ Reed's departure in 2 years right now because we got a Super Bowl to go and win. So we can't be preparing for DJ Reed's departure in 2 years. Stuff like that. Like, you've got to keep your balance right. And as for not knowing what the draft's going to be like because we're too early in the process, we're 10 days away, Brad. Of course, you know what's going to happen now at this point. You know roughly what every team is going to be thinking about doing. So let's not have none of this. We need a game plan ready. And, I still think he's going to go up for somebody. Everything he says and the bits he does, like, I can say there's a 100% chance we don't get 9 draft picks at the end of this draft. There is absolutely no way we use all 9 picks. And I will take any bet for that. Like, there's no way. There's going to be trades in there. So, I think we go up in the first. And I've been thinking that way for quite some time now. It just depends who falls. But it certainly feels like they're getting ready to make. This is what they called the aggression move. They didn't do it in free agency when they said they were going to be aggressive, so I think it's going to be the draft.
Fair. I don't disagree. Right, anything you want to say before we sign off? Because this is now on a 3.5-hour pod now.
Well, it's draft year. Draft is in 2 weeks. It's all over, so it is what it is. No, not really. I'm gonna go play some Last of Us and then go to bed. So get ready for the next one.
Fair. Right. It is now, because we've ticked over in the UK to the 14th of April, 9 days' time until the NFL draft, and it's my fucking birthday, so hey!
Well, technically we're awake during the night, so it's still 10 days, because we're going to be awake into the morning, so it's technically the 24th it starts
Don't
here.
poo-poo this for me, we're a day closer now.
Oh, in fact, no, I've got to go and... Oh, it's too late to... Is it too late to watch draft day? It'll be done by 2.
Yes, it's too late. It's too late. But anyway.
Yeah, play some Last of Us and then go to bed.
I think that's a good idea. We're going to be back with a college football podcast, and what are you talking about again?
The top 5 lists. Brian does top 5 per position. I do top 5 for the Lions per position. And then we'll do our mock draft simulator challenge as well, probably, because I've got to fit it all into 1 week, because this time, next Wednesday, it'll be betting shows and draft, so...
Yeah. Just to highlight again exactly what we're doing for the draft, we're live throughout with preview and review stuff. So betting show on Wednesday pre-draft. Thursday, we've got a warm-up show talking about what might happen. Thursday, day 1, live throughout. Friday morning, recap show of day 1. Friday, day 2, live throughout. Saturday morning, recap day 2. Live throughout Saturday. Recap the entire draft on Sunday morning. We have an incredible array of guests. There's going to be a lot of people you recognise who've been on our show before if you're a fan of ours. If you're not a fan of ours, we're aiming for about 30 to 35 guests. We're just slotting them in now. Includes one Oliver Hodgkinson, who's the lead college football analyst, draft analyst for Pro Football Sports Network. He's from the UK. We've had him on before. Terrific guest alongside many, many other high-profile guys. So you're going to want to join us for the draft. Over 24 hours of content. We hope you can join us for it. Go and support Ant and Ryan on the College Football Show later on this week. For now, I wish you all a great April 14, as I am going to have at my age 36 year. And cheers for doing this for me, especially for 3.5 hours. I've had an absolute blast. To you in the chat, thank you for being so active. We'll see you later on the week. For now, let's go Lions, one pride.
One pride. Have a great Tuesday. God, I'm about to say weekend.
Recording stopped.